when he killed that kid back in the 90s.
You're right. I don't know any of that history. I just know this.
Well, that's why she should have been recused.
Right. And there is a secret player behind the scenes that hasn't gotten a lot of coverage. His name is Greg Hennon of Hennon Strategies. He's the personal attorney for the Albans. Okay.
Yeah, so he's gotten some
and I know this firsthand. Greg Hennon and Hennon Strategies are great at telling stories. And that's what they are. They're stories. It's fiction time. It's story time. Right. And if you, and I don't have a dog in this fight, but if you listen to this case, this prosecution, you ask yourself, is this the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed, or is this a defense of the McCabe's and the Alberts that they are
100%
they are doing a preemptive defense to create reasonable doubt to preclude a potential a federal prosecution.
Is that the same Henning at Channel 5 News?
Yes.
Oh, so that's even more of a conflict of interest.
It's three of them. It's Greg Hennon and his two partners, McGrean and DeMoore. And if you notice, they all were the legal experts for all of the local TV stations because, you know, Greg Hennon's dad was John Hennon, and that's his connection. And Greg Hennon, they all worked in the Suffolk County DA's office. And when John Hennon had his, Greg Hennon had his ill-fated run for district attorney. He was running up against the woman who eventually became the U.S. attorney. He left, formed his firm, and that's it. So Greg Hennon is lurking behind the scenes here, and I would not be shocked if Greg Hennon's number is on Michael Morrissey's speed dial. And every day they're confabbing. How are we going to create reasonable doubt to get my clients off the hook?
Right.
I have no evidence other than just pure common sense and reason. You watch this case, you listen to it, you say none of it adds up. It doesn't make sense.
Morrissey writing checks, signing to he can't cash.
And you're right.
Makes no sense.
I think that they should have things on their table saying, where did all this blood go?
Alan Jackson needs his Johnny Cochran moment. You know, if the glove don't fit, you must have quit. He must line up those 3 containers with 3 pints of blood and say, where could this blood have gone?
The case is over.
It wasn't even labeled.
No, but this is beyond. There is a greater cause, I believe, that the defense is putting on here. And that is for all those people who've been wrongly arrested, wrongly prosecuted, wrongly convicted. He's making a statement saying, you guys need to clean up your act. You know, one of the things that's really important in this state to keep in mind is this state is a one-party state.
Right.
10 out of the 11 district attorneys all belong to the same political party.
Yes, who's president of the Democratic Committee in Massachusetts?
Right.
Michael Morrissey.
Michael Morrissey.
If you look at in the last 30 years, there was only three district attorneys in Norfolk County. Bill Delahunt, Bill Keenan, and now Michael Morrissey. All career politicians, right? They started their careers in the state house as state reps, then went to state senate, and then moved on to the DA's office. And in the case of Delahunt and Keenan, they moved on to U.S. Congress. They're all cut from the same cloth.
Can I get your name real quick? I never got it.
I'm Nurse Dan for Congress.
Nurse Dan for Congress. Bingo, we like that.
Oh,
And
nice.
why?
What they been saying must be true. I'm not ready to go yet, okay? I'm not ready. You gotta wait. I got shit to do. I'm in the middle of something, all right? Just hold on.
Watch your mouth or don't come in here.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, people, come on, we're adults here. You know what? What is the point?
Yeah, we're adults here. I got a fucking Burger King fucking thing on my head. We're all fucking adults here, guys. People in my chat, 2 words. What are they? 2 words. Let me see the chat flood. Let me see the chat flood. 2 words. Okay. Next caller. Please. Let's get into the meat and potatoes, which translate in American to dick and balls.
I got flip flops. These are my flip flops. Yeah, I really like my flip flops because I can put them on. Because look, watch me put them on. I can put them on all by myself. Watch me put them on. Look, are you watching? Look, these are my flip flops.
Thanksgiving Day. I remember it clearly. It was Thanksgiving Day. I was inserting myself in somebody else's fucking business as a cash grab, and you know.
This channel is harsh reality.
Karen Yak se jodió la sucia vida. Amen.
This is Jonathan Lee Riches. I have cheeseburgers. I'm gonna put cheese on them. I'm gonna make sure that I have my hamburgers because I'm a big boy now and I can make the hamburgers. My mom lets me use the stove now.
And I'm just like, wow, I like receipts, and they brought receipts. Like they had evidence to back up everything they said. And I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be another side to this, right? Like this can't. No, this is too fantastic.
Yeah, because you're not going to just jump to the conclusion that there's a conspiracy amongst cops to cover up a murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, cops and just like soccer moms and shit. Like that's what made it even crazier. Like,
yeah, get it, Betty. Yeah,
did you have a close relationship with your mom?
Get it, Betty.
Oh, of course, I still do.
Yeah.
My older sister was kind of sad. She was more of the prissy girl, like going
That is
and
the
getting
best
hair
shit
done,
fucking
shopping for the
ever.
dresses with mommy. I was the, tomboy that liked playing with the feet.
Shout out to Cherry for just being just easily the most faithful and loyal supporter that I've ever had, man. That someone could have that tenacity with loyalty. And I'm really blessed to have someone like Cherry be part of this channel and in my life. So it means a lot. And yes, I named him after Mr. T and Rocky. Say woman. Say woman. Say woman. Said your old man ain't got no heart. Why don't you come down to my apartment tonight and I'll show you a real man. Oh my God, I'm so in love with this little dude. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. I love you guys very, 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 very much. And we will do this again very soon, my friends. Oh, say bye. Say bye. Oh, I love you too. Give me a kiss. Oh, I love you. Bye, guys.
Karen left the
good morning, people. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, real quick before I get started, I hope you enjoyed the opening little jam I had going on there. That was a shout out to Dina. She said, I got all hyped this morning and I was listening to you. Want to hear something that hypes you up? You got to listen to Nazareth. You got to listen to Hair of the Dog by Nazareth. And I'm like, fuck yeah, Dina. You know exactly what I need. And so, yes, that was a big shout out to Dina. And we also had Nurse Dan for Congress, people. Nurse Dan for Congress, who was speaking to Tom. I had to play that little clip of what he was talking about. Homie gets what's going on in that courtroom. And he's campaigning out there, folks. So make sure if you guys want to see a difference, vote for Nurse Dan for Congress. Okay? Now, now, today, I don't know exactly what today is going to bring exactly. I don't think it's going to be I think we're going to see a few gotcha moments. But the thing is, the jury's not going to see it. All day today is voir dire. Okay. Which means that the judge is going to listen to, questioning of witnesses and then decide what she thinks is appropriate for the jury to hear. And so these are witnesses, as I understand it. These are going to be witnesses for the defense. Now, the defense is not presenting their case yet. This is, again, just voir dire, and this is for Judge Bev to decide if the jury is going to hear the testimony and if these are qualified experts. Some of these got a dog bite expert, as I understand it. We've got the federal expert who reconstructed the crash. I'm not sure if he reconstructed it or whatever, but he did come to the conclusion that Karen Reed did not hit John O'Keefe, that John O'Keefe is not the victim of vehicular manslaughter. His injuries are not consistent with that, and period, full stop, as Alan Jackson puts it. So this is where we're at. Okay. Now, this is what's interesting about that is, for me, I feel like even if Judge Bev, now I don't see how I think she's just gonna one thing I've seen her do throughout this trial, before this trial started, they had preliminary hearings and they discussed what could be said, what couldn't be said, what, if something could be said once a door was open, blah, 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 all this stuff. And Judge Bev basically put some limitations mostly on the defense, and the defense kind of is pretty if I gotta give them anything, man, like, they are just really good at, like, okay, yeah, we can work with that. No matter what Judge Bev throws at them, they're like, okay, we can work with that. We'll figure that out. We'll work around that. So I don't think that Judge Bev is just gonna decide that these are unqualified witnesses, but she's going to limit what could be said, what could be asked, how they can answer, so on and so forth. And the defense is going to be like, that's fine. It's going to be annoying, I'm sure, but they're going to be like, that's fine. Whatever you want. So I don't expect today to be, humorous, like watching old trooper Paul get cross-examined yesterday. I mean, dude was a mess. Thank you so much, Guppy guy. But you thought you slipped it by me. Did you guys think you slipped it by me? You think?
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. 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 I think we got a super dad. I think we got a super dad.
Guppy guy, thank you. I appreciate it. Good morning, and free Karen Reed. I agree. Good morning to you too, sir. Okay. Just want to make sure I was calling somebody sir. I mean, it's Guppy guy. So good morning to you, sir. So anyway, we're it's going to be interesting because I still feel like this is going to be really beneficial. I'm really intrigued to watch today because I want to hear from these witnesses. I mean, of course, it would be really nice if the jury was listening to it and we could just move this shit along. But what we're going to do, at least we get to hear what they have to say. Now, depending on what Judge Bev decides, it turn out to be very frustrating, to say the least. It could turn out to be very frustrating to hear them and know what they know, and then the jury doesn't get to hear everything that we heard them say, which is going to be kind of annoying, I think. But at least we get to hear from them.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad. I think we got a super dad.
Thank you, Lorianne. Good morning. Let's fucking go. Let's hear the real experts. I agree. I can't wait to hear these real experts. I'm really excited about this today, actually. All right, so I've got Karen's biggest fan pulled up. But they haven't begun yet. So I don't know. This is a weird day, but I imagine Judge Bev wants to just like, let's get this day going. Okay. I'm going to give you guys every single fucking day off of every week, of every day, of every month throughout this entire trial. But we really need to speed this along, Mr. Jackson. So if you could just, Mr. Yannetti, I don't need all of the chitter chatter. If you could just move this along. So hopefully we'll at least start at a decent hour today. What's up, Mazamedia? Yeah, man, it was awesome talking to Mazamedia yesterday. And Mazamedia showed his face. I got to be there when Mazamedia was like unveiling, you know, that sexy motherfucker he is. Mazamedia was on Young Jerks, and I was on there with him and Mark Betterow and had a great conversation with those guys. I gotta say, man, I love all these people that I'm meeting and interacting with throughout this case. It's really great. There's been a very minimal amount of drama. It's just been great. It's been incredibly pleasant. I have to say, everybody's really awesome. And I think it's mostly because most of you guys don't even like come from the YouTube true crime. And I was just like, how the fuck do I get away from this? But cases, you know, crime cases are really important to me. And then this case happened, and then and it was like I got exactly what I wished for so far. Oh my goodness.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad. I think we got a super dad.
Peter 6625. I just wanted to subsidize. Oh my God, I'm having a Trooper Paul moment. Excuse me. I just wanted to subsidize your trial, folks. I just wanted to subsidize your trial. So I just say it just like him. Fuck it. Subsidize. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Peter. You saw how I just had to like prove that I could say it because I'm that insecure. Uh, good morning, Liz Reed. This case has brought so many people together, and to be associated with you all is just the best. Thank you so much, Liz Reed, and I feel exactly the same way. I hear chitter chatter. Hold on, I hear chitter chatter under the weak mute. What's up, Pearl? I don't know what's taking Cherry so long. I'm gonna need her to get her shit together. Oh my God.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad. I think we got a super dad.
Kelly Hickley, thank you so much. Hi from England. There's no way Bev can refuse expert testimonies today after hearing expert Trooper Paul's embarrassing theories yesterday. So glad you brought that up, and welcome from England. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're in good company. The Limeys love me here. Okay, I'm just gonna be real about that. I'm gonna be totally upfront. The Limeys fucking love me. Okay, ask Pearl, ask Cherry. Cherry loves to hate me, but it still counts. Okay, it still counts. Right? The Limeys love me here, bro. Okay, I'm the motherfucking Limey diplomat up in this bitch. So I'm really glad you brought that up, though, Kelly, because Trooper Paul, the thing is Trooper Paul is a Massachusetts state trooper. So right away, you know, Bev is going to allow his expertise. He's employed by the Massachusetts State Police. So the problem is with the Massachusetts State Police and not Judge Bev in that aspect. I mean, imagine how embarrassing it was for her. Imagine how embarrassing it was for Judge Bev to just, okay, well, you've got a Massachusetts state trooper who conducted the crime scene. Of course, the prosecution is going to have this guy testify. It's necessary. It's beyond necessary that this guy has to testify because oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad. I think we got.
Buzzing for truth for sweet baby Jesus today. Thank you so much. And then Soper Girl became she's been a member for 11 months. Thank you. This case has brought great change to the Ratchet true crime community. I mean, has it though? Has it? I think it's showing some true colors. I think the fact that there's a case where someone is factually innocent and the evidence becomes more and more and more apparent, and the pitchforkers, the YouTubers, the tragedy pimps that love to make money off of being the voice of rage and anger and outrage towards somebody who could do something so terrible. Those people who make money doing that, well, they're kind of like, they're either sticking to their guns and saying she did it, or they're just kind of like slinking and slithering away. You know, I mean, it's kind of a beautiful thing. So change in the so-called true crime community happening, yeah. In that sense, absolutely. But is it waking anybody up? No. It's not changing anybody's perspective. I am absolutely a YouTuber, but what I don't do is start throwing mud at potentially or possibly even innocent people before I have enough evidence to do that. And I have never done that. I have always been consistent with that with this channel. And now someone actually happens to be innocent. Someone actually happens to be innocent. And that's just something that, for some reason, didn't factor into some of these people. Is that's a possibility that you're going to see a case where that happens. And God forbid you actually see a case where the police happen to be corrupt, negligent to the point of being corrupt. That's some shit I've never even seen. Just a bunch of cops being, and I didn't realize it. Like, it hit me as I was saying this on the Young Jerks last night, talking to Mazza, Mike, and Mark. And wow, okay. I'm gonna say that again. Talking to Mazza, Mike, and Mark. That was it hit me. I was like, well, there's a consistency here of these so-called expert witnesses that continue to testify, right? I mean, they all seem to be, everybody involved in this case, everybody involved in Turtle Boy's case, dude. Like, as far as the prosecution goes, as far as like, these are the worst of the worst. It's like Michael Morrissey is sticking, handing the ball to the bench warmers because they're expendable. Because they don't expect this to go anywhere, and they get to say, "Oh, well, we didn't have the best work in that one," But the problem with this insane strategy of Michael Morrissey's is that we have eyes, okay? We have eyes, and our eyes raise questions for us. And we're all asking the same question. If that is the case, why would you assign all of the worst people in the fields of what they do to work the case of a Boston police officer who is now dead? Why wouldn't you assign the best? That's my question. Why wouldn't you assign the best? Why the worst? Because if these people that I've seen so far perform, the way that they perform, these people, if they represent the best of Massachusetts, you all there need some serious change. You people need to get into the voting booths. Hell, run your fucking selves if you have to. Because there is a serious need for change. There already clearly is. But what I'm saying is, if that is the best, you're in worse shape than I thought. If that's the best of the best working the death of a Boston police officer, you guys are worse off than I thought. That's a nightmare. That's a fucking nightmare. If you're living in Massachusetts and these are the best people, Trooper Paul is the best guy to investigate someone you love being hit by a car. That's their best chance for justice. I call bullshit. No fucking way. So I'm telling you, I am telling you that I believe with my soul that this was some strategy by Michael Morrissey to go, oh, yeah, well, we did the best we could. He was incompetent. Yeah, Trooper Proctor, he's a bad representation of this Commonwealth. And then Trooper Proctor gets to fall on his sword, and then the corruption continues. Because I truly believe with all my soul that Karen Reed, this was not a premeditated thing where they planned to frame Karen Reed from the get-go. I think whatever happened inside that home was a crime of passion. I don't know who's responsible, but what I truly believe is once it did happen and once Karen found John O'Keefe laying in the lawn of 34 Fairview, Officer John O'Keefe, excuse me, laying in the lawn of 34 Fairview, I believe that when she said the words, "Did I hit him?" or showed a snake like Jennifer McCabe, that she was questioning herself in this. Jennifer McCabe pitched this shit to the Alberts and said she thinks she did it anyway. And her and Brian Albert quarterbacked the whole goddamn thing. That's what I believe. And their intention was to get to convince Karen, gaslight Karen. Jennifer McCabe was probably being used to be the manipulative one because she's always behind the scene in somebody's ear in Turtle Boy's case, which is very fascinating. We know this. So now, why would it be hard to believe that she's doing the same thing in the Karen Reed case, or her intention was to do the same thing in Karen Reed? I mean, I've spoken to people who say they went to high school with Jen McCabe and she was a mean girl. She was a fucking bully. And you know what mean girls and bullies do in high school? They get chatter. They manipulate. They turn people on each other. And I believe Jennifer McCabe had every intention of just being in her and John O'Keefe's family's ear and convincing them that she did it and she didn't mean to do it. And she's being all sweet and she's being all nice, smiling through her teeth. And then what happened? Karen said, nuh-uh. Nope. Wait a second. Shit doesn't add up because my memory's coming back. And then she hired the best attorneys that she could possibly hire. And then now all of this is going tits up because none of these people expected this to go as far. I'm talking from the McAlberts to the investigators to the attorneys, to the prosecuting attorneys and the district attorney's office. They did not expect it to go this far. They expected this to just go away with Karen Reed pleading guilty because she was doubting herself. And they figured they could use Jen McCabe to push her over the edge and convince her fully that she did it. That is my belief. That is my theory. But they didn't count on Karen being Karen, and Karen hired this damn good defense team, and now here we are. Here we are, and every aspect of this investigation has gone wrong. And that can't be a coincidence. And this incredible defense team is now uncovering it and showing the world. Maris, thank you so much. The O'Keefes are mad at the wrong person. The state police didn't respect John enough to do a good investigation. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The O'Keefes are absolutely mad at the wrong people. But, you know, that's what they're going to have to figure out. You know, I'm not here to convince the O'Keefes or anybody of anything. I mean, like, all I do up here is speak my opinions on my observations. That's it. That's all I do. And it so happens that many of you agree with my opinions, and we get to interact, and it's fantastic. And I'm very grateful for that. Because it's crazy. Like, something like this, I got to tell you, I'm really grateful because, like, a case like this, when you look at everything that's involved in it, when you really, really analyze everything that's involved in it, it's fucking crazy. And you kind of need a like-minded person to validate it for you. Because no matter what, as much evidence as you have in front of you, it's still understandable if you go, I still don't fucking believe it. You know, to some degree. I'm not saying fully, but I'm saying I get it. I'm saying I would be like, dude, are you kidding me? But I would still kind of understand, you know, I would be empathetic to somebody who's looking at all the evidence and goes, no, man, this can't be. If I didn't have people to where I could talk to about it, I'd go, okay, that's what makes me go, okay, I'm not fucking crazy. You know, because this shit is fucking crazy. You're talking about, I mean, and we're seeing this, to see these very people who for months and months we have visualized in our minds what they must be like. I visualized Proctor in my head. You know, I visualized how he was conducting this investigation because I was trying to put myself in his head. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He doesn't get any statement signed. Why didn't he interview this person immediately? Why didn't he interview this person at all? What is going on here? For months, we're sitting here asking these questions. And to see that person sit there on the stand and testify and validate how you fucking pictured them is fucking wild. It's wild. Yeah, that shit was crazy. Fucking, I mean, I don't know yet how much I'm reading into. It was just a crazy thing to catch, but I don't know how much I'm reading into Guarino, Officer Guarino, saying, kill me. Officer Guarino saying that into the hot mic. I don't know how much I'm going to read into that. I'll talk about that in a second.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad.
Brian, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for the excellent coverage. Thank you for watching. I don't know if it's excellent, but you guys are excellent. That's for sure. Yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to read into that, man. Because this dude was like, listen, I mean, he's sitting there testifying in trial and he probably hates it. But the problem with this is, you know, because I could see it as that. I could see it as him going, you know, like I've said that shit without even thinking. You know what I mean? Who hasn't? Who hasn't? But the issue with that is this dude is an expert for the Massachusetts State Police. I mean, it can't be his first rodeo testifying in a trial. You know what I mean? It's totally unprofessional for him to go, kill me right into the mic. It is beyond unprofessional for the dude to like be right into the mic and fucking give a bev sigh and go, kill me right after that. I mean, it's beyond the scope of unprofessional, bro. So, you know what I mean? Now, what could make him say that? That's the problem. That's where I get snagged, is it could be an infinite amount of things, you know? He could have not wiped right when he was in the toilet earlier and his ass was itching and he realized that he didn't get to clean up properly before having to sit there for God knows how long on that stand. And then he's like, fuck, kill me. You know, that could happen. You know what I mean? There's an infinite amount of possibilities as to why he just went, kill me. But the likely reason is that he was highly uncomfortable with the fact that he had to go over evidence that he could not retrieve. evidence of the fact that he could not retrieve any evidence, but somehow meticulously was able to figure out all of this stuff about Jen McCabe's phone. No evidence against Karen Reed, no data retrieved from her vehicle. This guy's job was to investigate and get proof on Karen Reed. And the best thing that he could do to come out of that is to debunk Jen McCabe's Google searches with some bullshit mumbo jumbo reason. Because that's not suspicious at all. Dude, what in the fuck is taking so long? Don't spit in that cow's burger. Oh, I haven't watched Auntie Deb's new video. I just don't want to miss anything here. Like, I would like play something right now just to like kill time, but well, because the fucking fan was on at like 8:50. Oh, look who decided to join us. Thank you, Cherry, for joining us. Bev. Dude, all I can think of is hold on. I want to see if I can pull it up. All right. Oh my God. I'm going to totally get dinged for this, but this is what Bev always reminds me of.
Fucking vodka, man.
Bev has reminded me of that since the very beginning, since the first time I that has stuck out in my mind forever. I'm totally gonna get dinged for that, but it's fine. It's totally okay. I mean, like this cameraman's ready to go. You see him? He's just like, come on, man. Let's go. Let's do this. Grease up the joints here. Keep it moving. I mean, that's a good point, too. That's a good point, too. Could just be that this man's fucking man card was just like right there, bro. You know what I'm saying? And he was just like, dude, I don't want to, because that's how I felt. I mean, I was like, the last thing I want to do is fucking sit here and listen to these fucking text messages, private text messages between Karen and John. And it could very well be that this dude fucking felt the very same way about that shit. Like, fuck. How many times I gone over these goddamn things? Fucking kill me. You know? Like, that's perfectly possible. It's even got the same likelihood as what else we fucking explored there. I mean, that shit was like, nobody wants to fucking hear that shit. There's something wrong with you if you get like some sort of pleasure out of like reading, you know, hearing those texts, man. There's something fucking wrong with you. Seriously. I can't. Like they had problems. Everybody's got fucking problems, dude. That doesn't mean that they should be aired out. And it's such a shitty fucking desperate fucking attempt to find any reason to implicate her, and it's just to create motive, and it doesn't do that at all.
Thank you. Maybe see the close down session. 22117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed.
All right. Good morning, Council. Ms. Reed. Are all of the witnesses here, Mr. Jackson?
They are, Your Honor.
I'd like to hear from Dr. Russell first. Are you both prepared to?
Oh, this is awesome. You're going right to it.
I would like to hear from Dr. Russell first. Is that her name?
Dr. Russell, yes. The order would be proposed based on scheduling. Dr. Russell, Dr. Wolf.
It is. You're
Okay,
totally
then that's
right.
good because that's the order I prefer. So, all right. Do you have a CV for her? Good morning. Morning, Tori. Do you have a CV I could look at for her, please?
Let me see if I have it in my notebook. I thought I did. Yes, I do.
And she has not written a report?
She's not.
All right, let's bring her in, please.
Your Honor, before we get started, can I get an understanding? We started to say it at sidebar the other day, and you said you wanted to put that off to get to the witnesses. But I need a little bit of an understanding of what the court's expectations are. My understanding of voir dire, which this seems to be unusual in terms of the timing of it.
The understanding of the voir dire is this is for the Commonwealth's motion to exclude this testimony. All right, that's what we're here for, the Rule 14 violation.
Is that the same with Dr. Wolf and Dr. Rich?
Well, I thought that would help both of you. The Commonwealth has nothing on that, and you say you haven't been able to even talk to them at all about this case.
That's correct.
So I want to find out if they have any credible, competent evidence to put forward. So we'll have a voir dire on them as well. But
So
for
that-
Dr. Russell, what we're doing here today is there's an alleged well, there's appears to me to be a violation of the reciprocal discovery obligations of defense counsel regarding Dr.
Wow.
Russell. So let's hear from her today to see what the appropriate remedy is for this violation.
So my intention is to ask her so I have, the court understands my sort of guardrails. My intention is to ask her what her qualifications are, which is that's the basis for a voir dire. And that's where I'm going to stop. I'm not intending to ask her what her opinions are, conclusions. I'm going to ask her if she's come to opinions and conclusions, but I don't want to have to examine.
Oh,
her.
nice,
Her
Jackson.
Full opinions, her full conclusions, what she's based those conclusions on. It's unfair. We've provided the defense everything that the prosecution, everything that we need to provide to them in terms of disclosure. They've got the equivalent of
They're on the
they've got a
defense.
summary of what she's going to testify to.
When was that provided? My order
what
was
Jackson did
1
there?
week from the start of trial, right?
Well, we didn't, Your Honor, in fairness, they didn't even finish their discovery
Yep.
a week before the start of trial. So it's a little unfair for us to be
Right.
1 week from the filing of the certificate of compliance.
Well, I don't know when there's, I can't remember. My co-counsel indicates it was the day before trial.
Okay.
So during the course of, look, trial is a dynamic thing. During the course of the trial, I did not know who Dr. Marie Russell was at the time that they filed their certificate of compliance. We then attempted to and did give them the reciprocal discovery that we were obligated to do after they filed their certificate of compliance.
When?
Within 3 days of that. We had been giving them information prior to that, but at least within 3 days of that. We've continued, so the record's clear, we've continued to get additional discovery from the Commonwealth in notices of discovery throughout the trial. They have not finished. In fact, during the trial, they interviewed Jen McCabe, apparently, had a full interview with her. Lieutenant Tully took a report, dated the report, and then they held on to that report until after she testified.
Yeah, what the fuck do they think they're trying to pull?
Report and the completion of the report were all done before her testimony.
Do you need to call her again?
Your Honor, I'm not, and I think the court understands, that's not my point. My point is not, I need to call Jennifer McCabe.
I think the court understands. That was a jab.
Sorry, I missed that. You've what?
I've done the damage that needed to be done on Jennifer McCabe. I don't need to call her back. The point is that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. The Commonwealth doesn't get to stand in the position of piecemealing and feeding us information, reports, discovery throughout the course of the trial. And by the way, when we then got seminal information about an expert that we did not know about, never met, never heard of, within 3 days of that, we provide everything that we have about that witness to the Commonwealth. They can't then turn around and say, oh, well, it's all the defense's fault. So we want to have a voir dire, which means that the euphemism for that voir dire is we want to have two bites at the apple.
Okay.
We want to be able to
This is bullshit.
examine her, then go back to our expert, and if she testifies, cross-examine her again after consulting with our expert.
Get him.
That's the apple, and that's not fair. If the court wants to hear whether or not Dr. Marie Russell is qualified to testify about the arm injuries, that, I believe, is the parameters, the proper parameters of the voir dire, and that's what I'm prepared to do today. But I wasn't planning on getting into the substance of her testimony because that's been provided. And I don't think Mr. Lally should be able to get into the substance of her testimony because he knows what the substance is because, like I said, that's been provided.
All right, so I disagree. I'm going to
Wow.
on this. Is it Ms. McLaughlin or Mr. Lally?
Dude, she is fucking dirty, man.
Your Honor, just briefly in regard to
she hasn't even heard
what counsel
him
was
yet.
referencing with Ms. McCabe. It was not
she
a full
disagreed.
interview by Lieutenant Tully. It was a, and I don't have it on me at this moment, but I can give the court a copy of that report. But essentially, it was Ms. McCabe met with Lieutenant Tully, looked at some video, and was asked a single question. That report wasn't available. I didn't have it until after Ms. McCabe testified, but it was given to counsel prior to Lieutenant Tully testifying, and there were no questions asked of Lieutenant Tully in regard to that. My issue, and I wasn't asking for a voir dire as it relates to Dr. Russell, is that we first heard of Dr. Russell on May 21st, which was, I think, 6 weeks into trial.
Right, so that's what I asked, and you told me it was 3 days after the beginning of trial, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, I said this at sidebar the other day, and I just said it again today. I let the Commonwealth and the court know about Dr. Marie Russell 3 days after I learned about her, which was the 17th of May. I think it was the 17th of May. I had never heard of her. I didn't know who she was. We made contact. I determined that she would be useful for the jury in terms of specifically the injuries to John O'Keefe's arm. I then had one conversation with her, then immediately, within 3 days of that, turned that information over to the prosecution. So I didn't say that I gave this over 3 days into trial. That's not what I said.
All right, but you were ordered to do it. Ms. Gianetti, what was the date? What, you had 1 week from when?
This is the same judge that laughed with Lally in open court about him not meeting deadlines with discovery and her not doing about it. What she did about it was laugh with Lally about it in open court during a preliminary hearing. So I mean, this is the defense's case. They haven't presented their case yet. This is going to decide if the defense even gets to present their case. And Judge Bev is already seemingly with an agenda. And the interesting thing here is even people who think that Karen Reed is guilty should not be cheering if Judge Bev decides to exclude these witnesses, because this is clearly an injustice. Every defendant has a right to a defense. Every single one. This isn't just about Karen Reed. This is even about guilty. Like, we have, let's say they have all the evidence in the world. You deny them of being able to present their defense? That's absolutely a violation of her civil rights. And it's just absolutely is.
All right, so the Commonwealth has moved that I exclude the testimony of Dr. Russell based on a violation of the reciprocal discovery obligations of the defense. So I do find that there is a violation of the reciprocal discovery obligations of Rule 14. And I'm quoting from the notes, the importance of this, the reporter's notes to the old rule. And as you all know, we're in the process of updating that rule. But the very integrity of the judicial system and public confidence in the system depend on full disclosure of all the facts within the framework of the rules of evidence. To ensure that justice is done, it is imperative to the function of courts that compulsory process be available for the production of evidence needed either by the prosecution or the defense. So what we're here to do today is decide a remedy for this violation. And that's why we're having a voir dire. I am not prohibiting the Commonwealth from anything on their examination of witness Mr. Jackson. The alternative is she doesn't testify. So
wow,
the Commonwealth has not received the appropriate discovery from this witness. So we're
Wow.
going to have a voir dire, and they can ask her anything that they think they need to ask her. So those are the parameters of this morning.
As long as I know the guardrails, that's fine.
You're a little cunt.
Just to close the loop on the record, my understanding, and this Little can probably speak to this more intelligently than I can, but during the middle of trial, there was a witness that we had never heard of, we did not know and didn't have a report for.
Who is that?
Dr. Fowler, F-A-L-L-E-R.
Okay.
If the court remembers, is buried in the middle of about 75 witnesses. So he testified to alcohol levels, et cetera, and protocols at which institution? At Good Samaritan. And we didn't have that information either. We didn't throw a fit. They said we were going to provide this information in a timely fashion as soon as we know that we're
This isn't funny.
be on our witness list. We didn't know one way or the other what he was going to
What are
say.
you giggling about,
We didn't have a
Bev?
report, and we went on about our business. That's what we were doing as well. And by the way, I would note that the notes and the report under
Absolutely, 100%.
required disclosure of
Thank you.
information you have. I just don't want the court to think that we were sitting on information that we didn't turn over.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just, this isn't as if it was something that the Commonwealth brought up and you needed to scramble. This is entirely of the defense position. So,
I understand.
all right, so that's the big difference. So why don't you go ahead and call her?
Okay. May I be excused to call her?
Yes.
I mean, I think right now Jackson and Yannetti and Miss Little are fuming right now. Fuming. Like insides on fire. Karen's parents fuming. The patience that these people have is unbelievable. The fact that this witness's integrity or credibility is even in question enough to hold this voir dire is incredibly fucked up.
Mr. Grant, you solemnly swear the evidence given in the court, the case now and here, and the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Morning.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. Andrew, shut the fuck up, lunchbox.
Your voice
I
up,
missed
speak
that.
right
Sorry.
into that microphone, doctor, okay?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes. Marie Russell, Russell.
And I'm going to echo what the court just indicated. The air conditioners are on, so please keep your voice as elevated as possible and maneuver the microphone however you need to, okay?
Okay.
Dr. Russell, what do you do for a living?
I am a retired emergency physician and forensic pathologist.
And tell me what education you have, going all the way back to the beginning, that qualifies you as an emergency physician and former pathologist before you retired.
Okay, well, I've had about at least 16 years of formal education beyond high school. Initially, I started at MIT.
It's too much.
Where I
What?
did my pre-med courses. I had always wanted to be a physician. And so I went to MIT for a year, took pre-med courses. And then I had an unusual life event in that my mother came down with cancer and she subsequently passed away. During the time away, so I took some time off from school. During that period of time, I decided to explore another interest of mine, which was law enforcement. And so I took some courses in law enforcement and I became a full-time police officer here
The
in
jury would
Massachusetts.
already love her. The jury would already love her.
That was 1972 to 1974.
Did you go to the police academy?
I did. Once I became a police officer here in Massachusetts, I attended the Boston Police Academy where I graduated.
What year was that?
That was in 1977.
During the course of your training as a police officer, did you have any specialized training in hit and run and accidents and investigations?
Yes, I did.
And which agency did you work for as a sworn peace officer?
I worked for the city of Malden full-time for 7 years.
That would be from 1977 to 1984, approximately?
Correct.
During that time, did you continue your education in any way?
I did. So I took as many courses as I could from the Massachusetts Criminal Justice Training Council, which included a several-day course in hit and run accident investigation. I took courses in forensic photography and numerous other things. And then, and I also at the same time continued to go to college. And I did that part-time, where I eventually got a bachelor's degree of science in psychology with highest honors.
What institution was that from?
That was from Northeastern University.
And that was a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology?
I think it was a Bachelor of Science.
Got it. Subsequent to your Bachelor of Science degree from Northeastern, did you also advance your education further, formally?
Subsequent to, so yes, so I decided that I did want to pursue a medical career. And so I then attended medical school, University of Massachusetts Medical School full-time for 4 years.
Did you ultimately get a degree, an MD degree from UMass?
Yes, a Doctor of Medicine degree in 1987.
So you were there from 1983 to 1987, is that right?
That is correct.
And did you do a residency?
I did. I did 2 residencies, actually. Most people do 1, but I did 2. I did, my first residency was a combined internship and residency for 4 years. And I did that in Los Angeles at Los Angeles County Medical Center, which is a very big trauma center and what I would consider the Bellevue of the West Coast. Very busy.
You say that just because of the volume at USC Medical Center?
That is correct.
Is it one of the busiest medical trauma centers in the country?
Yes.
You were there from 1987 to 1991, is that right?
Yes, I did my ER internship and residency
Thank you,
during
Brad.
those years. Yes, there.
During that time, were you seeing patients?
Oh, yes.
You were treating patients?
Lots of them.
You were attending to patients?
I was a trainee, so I was seeing as many patients as we could. There was always a waiting room full of patients, and yeah, so I saw many patients during that time period.
This lady's
When
an
you hit your second
animal.
residency. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I still realized I had an interest in forensics, and I decided that I wanted to also train in forensic pathology. So I did a second residency in anatomic pathology, 2 years, followed by forensic pathology fellowship at the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office for 2 years.
And the
But wait, there's
if
more.
that's 4 years, that would be from 1991 to 1995, approximately.
That is correct.
Tell me what your experience was as a fellow at the Los Angeles Coroner's Office, Los Angeles County Coroner's Office.
Yes, well, it also was a very busy coroner's office. And so every day there would be cases. I probably did at least 2 cases a day, most days, and plus conferences and educational opportunities. But the interesting thing about being a fellow is they try to give you a wide assortment of cases. So, for instance, I not only saw numerous victims of gunshot violence and stabbings, but I saw numerous victims of motor vehicle accidents and natural death, overdoses. And then if there was an unusual case, it usually went to the fellow, because the fellow was also being supervised. So
Did any of those unusual cases, and we'll get more into this in just a second, but did any of those unusual cases include animal attacks?
Thank
Yes.
you, Lindsay.
Did you become a professor, an educator at any point?
yes, so during my 29 years at LA County Hospital, during the last 25 of those, I was a assistant professor or an instructor, but mostly an assistant professor. And what that meant is that I was responsible for overseeing the care that was provided by the interns and residents. So when a patient would come into the hospital, the emergency room, they were oftentimes usually seen by the intern or resident, and then I would go and subsequently see that patient also. So, and that was in addition to my own cases. So I'd see my cases and their cases.
Bro, this lady's saving lives for
That
a
is
Friday
correct.
night
And
in
Again,
college.
quick question.
Yes.
LAUSC,
She's not even out of
for those
college
us who are
yet.
Not necessarily familiar with it. Is that associated with the University of Southern California Medical Center?
Yes.
That's the school, in other words. The site.
Yes, so it stands for Los Angeles County / University of Southern California Medical Center.
And that's where you were an assistant professor for the majority of the rest of your career.
Correct.
Were you also an assistant
Thank you,
or
Andrew.
an adjunct professor at Cal State Los Angeles?
Yes,
Okay. For how long were you an adjunct professor there?
I believe that was 4 or 5 years,
Oh my God.
and I taught criminalistics, forensic medicine there.
Oh
As
my
an attending
God.
Physician in the ER, in other words, a supervising physician in the ER. Can you tell us what some of your duties and responsibilities included, especially as it pertains to trauma? And then I'll get more specific in just
Thank
a
you,
second.
Brad.
Okay, well, so I would oversee the care of all the patients that came in during a particular shift. And that would include medical patients and trauma patients. And as I mentioned, it was a very busy trauma center. So we had lots of trauma patients, including the types of violence I described earlier that I saw at the coroner's office, but lots of motor vehicle accident victims, because there was a highway there right nearby. There were a couple of highways, so a wide variety of accidents.
Did your supervision include assessing, diagnosing, and treating patients?
Correct.
In terms of the middle part of that, diagnosis, was part of your job to determine the cause of injuries, or to at least assess the cause of injuries?
Yes, and I took that on a little bit more because I was interested in the forensics aspect of the injuries.
The forensic aspect?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. This lady is.
During your time at LAUSC, even after you left the Los Angeles Coroner's Office as a fellow, did you continue to stay in contact with the coroner's office and have relationship with the coroner's office as a supervising physician?
I continued to stay in contact with the coroner's office, and I used to attend their conferences as often as I could, not as a supervising physician, but as a physician and a graduate of their program.
During your tenure at LAUSC, did you ever become the director of any programs at LAUSC?
Totally,
Yes.
Cynthia. Thank you.
Does that include the director of Center for Life Support Training?
Yes.
What years was that, if you remember?
I don't remember that.
The early 2000s, late 90s?
Yes, that sounds about right.
Okay.
And we would conduct lots of courses, including trauma, life support courses.
Did LAUSC incorporate a quality improvement program?
Yes.
Within their institution?
Yes.
Did you become a director of that as well?
Yes.
So you were director of Center for Life Support Training and director of LAUSC Medical Center Quality Improvement. Is that right?
The quality improvement was for the emergency department.
All right.
Yes.
Another
And
one.
Did you also become the director for jail medical services?
Yes.
What is
Another
the
one.
association between LAUSC and the very, very expansive jail system in Los Angeles County?
So LA County Hospital was unique in that they many, many years ago developed a jail, what they called a jail ward, which was a combined inpatient, outpatient, and ER. So there was a dedicated jail ER. And that has been in existence for probably about 70 years now. And patients that were placed under arrest by either LA sheriffs, LAPD, California Highway Patrol, or any of the municipal agencies in the area, and I think there were about 70 or more municipal agencies, could bring their patients to the LA County jail ward where the patients would get treatment.
Ultimately, you became the director of that entire program, correct?
Yes.
Did you also work with the State Medical Board of California in any capacity?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
For about 7 years, I worked part-time for the California Medical Board as a physician assigned to one of their enforcement teams. And I did that 1 day a week, and I did my other job at the county hospital the other 40 hours a week.
So you didn't take off time from your duties as an ER physician, as an emergency physician. This was in addition to you being an emergency physician.
That is correct.
Did you hold the title of Chief Medical Executive for the California State Prison System, specifically at Corcoran?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I retired from LA County Hospital, and I went on to move on to the the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
And what year was that? Did you make that transition?
So 2018 is when I started for the state prison system.
Okay.
And I worked there for 5 years as director of their medical service in Corcoran.
I'm sorry.
Another
So for
one.
that prison, within that system, you were the chief medical executive for the entire agency, correct?
Bro.
That is correct. For
This
the entire prison.
Understood.
This lady rolls up into some spot and goes, all right,
Board certified in emergency medicine.
I'm going to be the
Are
boss
you a
now.
member of the National Association of Medical Examiners?
Yes.
Are you a member of the American Academy of Forensic Science?
Yes.
Do you have any publications in the area? And I'm going to be very specific because you've been relatively widely published. Is that right?
Some people would say yes, some people would say no.
More than a couple of publications.
Correct.
And peer-reviewed journals, correct?
Yes.
I want to focus your attention on animal injuries.
Wow,
Have you been
bro.
published in the area of animal injuries specifically?
Yes.
Do you recall those publications?
Yes, they had to do with law enforcement dog bites.
Did you draft an article or co-author an article
What?
called Managing Law Enforcement Dog Bites in the ER?
Yes. I was a
Bro.
co-author.
1996?
Sounds right.
She literally wrote the book on it.
Yes.
Ultimately published?
Yes.
And ultimately available to be cited by other doctors and studied by other doctors, correct?
Correct.
Did you
Oh
also
my
author or
God.
co-author an article entitled Law Enforcement Canine Dog Bites, Injuries, Complications, and Trends?
Yes, I did.
Is that in 1997?
Sounds right.
Was that also peer reviewed?
Yes.
And that publication was also available for other physicians throughout California and throughout the country to refer to for the study of animal bites and dog bites, correct?
Dog bites, yes.
Dog bites. Concerning animal injuries, during the course of your professional experience, how many patients have you seen, diagnosed, and or treated with animal injuries, including dog bites and scratches, if you had to estimate?
Many hundreds.
Would you say it's over or under 1,000?
I would say it's over 500. I don't know because we didn't keep really good records back in the earlier days.
But it's safe to say you've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dog bites and scratches.
Yes, in my 29 years at LA County Hospital, yes. And my dog bites I took care of and dog bites that the residents took care of, yes.
And you've even published articles and studied, not just seen them, but studied dog bites and dog wounds, correct?
Yes.
Have you qualified as an expert previously in other courts as in emergency medicine?
Yes.
Have you qualified as an expert in other courts in forensic pathology and wounds?
Yes.
Wow.
Has that been
Holy
state and federal
shit.
court?
Yes.
This lady's
Doctor,
the dopest.
were you asked to review certain
like
materials related to this case?
Yes.
And that was in furtherance of coming to, if you could, come to an opinion or a conclusion about injuries to the victim in this case, a person by the name of John O'Keefe.
Yes.
What did you review in anticipation of your determining whether or not you could come to an opinion or a conclusion?
So I reviewed hospital photographs, autopsy photographs, an autopsy report, grand jury testimony from the medical examiner in this case. There may be some other
Based on
items.
I just want to ask about that. Do you have notes with you as to what you reviewed?
Hey, easy, Bev.
Okay, so when
Gotta
you
be
say
nice.
there might be other, you don't.
Well,
If he tells you what you reviewed, you'd know it.
I would recognize it.
All right, but I want to hear it from you. You don't know of anything else that you've reviewed. This is sort of important, Mr. Jackson.
Okay.
Are you kidding?
Can you think of anything else, doctor,
The
besides
autopsy.
these?
Autopsy photographs, autopsy report, neuropathology report, toxicology report, and the grand jury testimony.
Okay, so as you recall, the items that you reviewed include an autopsy report by Dr. Scortibello, correct?
Yes.
A neuropathology report by a doctor named Stonebridge, correct?
Yes.
Toxicological reports associated with the autopsy?
Yes.
Grand jury transcripts from Dr. Scortibello?
Yes.
Photographs of evidence items, including a gray sweatshirt?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And autopsy photos that were taken attendant to the actual autopsy?
Yes. And photographs that were taken in the hospital. And I reviewed the hospital ER record also.
So in addition to what you just listed, there's also hospital photos separate and apart from the autopsy photos, is that correct?
Yes.
And those hospital photos showed the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's arm, is that right?
Yes.
And you also reviewed emergency room records that are attendant to his initial acceptance into the emergency room on January 29th, 2022, correct?
That's correct.
Based on your review of all of those materials, were you able to confidently come to any conclusions or opinions about the nature of the injuries suffered by John O'Keefe, specifically as they relate to John O'Keefe's right arm?
Yes.
What is your opinion and conclusion concerning those injuries?
Those injuries appear to be consistent with an animal attack.
Can you be more specific in terms of the type of animal, or are you relegated to simply an animal attack?
Well, they are consistent with a large dog attack. There's a combination of both what I consider bite wounds and scratch wounds on the arm.
Holy shit.
there were also some puncture wounds in that shirt.
And are the
So I'm sorry, puncture wounds in the shirt?
Puncture holes
Okay.
in the shirt.
And on what do you base the opinion that the injuries are consistent with dog bite or scratch marks?
Well, the patterns. There are several patterns of parallel wounds that appear to be superficial scratches that could have been caused by nails or could have been caused by teeth. There are different angles on the arm and different locations on the arm, and but they're generally oriented in a specific direction. And there's also an area, the distal forearm, which is close to the wrist, which shows what I believe is an arch area of teeth marks.
And what's the significance of the arch area?
Well, so the arch would be the front area of the jaw of the animal, you know, or the dog in this case, where the teeth tend to be close together and curved. There's a curved pattern to the configuration of the teeth.
This lady's a star, bro. Like, this lady is amazing. How are you not going to, like, if I'm the jury and I just heard her resume and then she starts explaining about that being dog bites, that's it. I'm sold. I'm sold. Right. That's a great point, Microdots. Microdots says, who could challenge her explanation? Whose education can match hers? Is the question. That's what it boils down to.
I'll show you a series of photographs. Can I approach you?
Yes.
First, can you describe whether or not you recognize what's depicted in that photograph? Have you seen that photograph before?
Yes, I have.
Is that part of what you reviewed in coming to your opinions and conclusions?
Yes.
What is that a photograph of?
So this is a photograph of the decedent's arm near the elbow. And do you want me to describe what it shows?
Just briefly. An
Okay.
overview of what
Yeah, and it shows wounds.
Okay. Your Honor, I would ask that be marked as next in order of evidence.
All right, so for this voir dire, we'll have separate evidence, right? Is this an exhibit number in the trial already?
It has not been marked yet, so I'm fine with starting over, sort of for the purpose of the voir dire process, Howard.
So this will be a separate voir dire with separate exhibit, yes.
So it's going to be exhibit 1?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate you.
Your Honor, I want to move this along. This has been marked, but I think.
Hold on. Okay.
I'm so sorry. This one of the three has already been marked, but if, just for consistency, I'd rather mark it additionally for voir dire. Yes.
Need a separate record for the voir dire.
May I approach?
Yes.
This one's already been marked, but I'll remark it.
And if you'd tell me the exhibit numbers that they are. So you're putting these in now? There's no objection, Mr. Lally?
For purposes of this, no.
Okay. So we'll mark these now, but
May I approach?
yes.
The one with the label 2858 on the bottom has previously been marked in the trial. I would ask that this be marked as the next in order for the voir dire.
But what I want is the exhibit number at the trial.
I'll get that for you. I believe it's exhibit 19.
Okay.
Is that 19? That's correct. It's 19.
Okay. And is the third one also in evidence, you said?
2 of the 3 have not been marked. I'll as soon as that.
Dude, once the jury
She's ready.
like hears these closing arguments after hearing her
Yes.
testify,
The following 2 photographs that I just showed you, Doctor, do you recognize those?
Yes.
Did you also review those in terms of in furtherance of coming to your opinions and conclusions?
Yes.
Do they also appear to be different photographs of John O'Keefe's arm?
Yes.
I would move for the admission of both of those, Your Honor, for purposes of voir dire.
There's been no objection to them, so they're in. They're already marked.
I just need to know which one's 2 and which one's 3. May I approach?
Yes.
yeah, where is Chloe? Show me this Vermont
Yes.
land that she's just prancing
Yes.
along.
Is this a photograph of the of John O'Keefe's arm?
Yes.
Is this one of the several photographs that you reviewed in coming to your opinions and conclusions?
Yes.
I want to ask you a couple of questions about this. There should be a laser pointer on the desk.
Okay.
Can you explain for the jurors what it is about the injuries that assisted you in coming to your opinion and conclusion that this is from an animal attack?
Okay, there's several patterns here. So, for instance, let's look here, right near the elbow, the exterior part of the elbow. There's these 2 linear marks, which appear to be from upper teeth, and 2 punctures below those, which are superficial, meaning they didn't go very deep into the skin, but they appear from the lower teeth. So that's one pattern. There's another pattern close to the shoulder, which shows parallel marks, these 2, and maybe a third one in the middle, parallel marks that are oriented at a certain angle. And these are superficial wounds, which are consistent with teeth marks. They also could be possibly consistent with nail marks, but
With what?
nails from claw. Yes.
All right.
We have some more here, similar from obviously different teeth involved or different claws, and then down here, closer to the wrist, we have an unusual pattern of at least 4 striations, the way I see it, at least 4 striations that I believe are caused from the teeth towards the front of the mouth, near the arch. It appears that there's an arch pattern here. So,
In a dog attack or in
This
an
is
animal
fucking
attack
wild.
experience, and we can take this one down.
I feel like I'm watching the Beatles play live.
Let's cover the ground on the 3 exhibits that we've already marked. Can we take a look at exhibit 1? Is this just a may I publish, Your Honor? Yes. I apologize. Is this just a close-up of the same injuries?
yes.
And do these appear to be consistent with what you just testified to in terms of either teeth or claw marks, especially as it relates to the area closest to the elbow?
Yes.
All right. And then looking at exhibit 3. May I publish?
Yes.
Is this a close-up view of the area closer to the wrist that indicated those parallel you use the word striations.
Yes,
All right, and these appear to be taken attendant to the autopsy as opposed to the other photograph, exhibit 2, that was taken in the hospital. Is that right?
that is correct.
All right. And would the time difference account for the slight change in the nature of the wound?
It could.
Photograph of the wound, I guess?
It could, or a different technique, yes.
Okay. Let me take these down. Did you take into consideration the lack, in coming to your opinion and conclusion, the lack of other injuries, for instance, fractures, broken bones, or deep bruising, soft tissue injuries?
Oh, yes.
How did that play into your opinion?
Well, so of course I considered, what else could have caused these wounds, before coming to my conclusion. And so I wanted to rule out other things. And there were no significant major bodily injuries that, outside the head. There was nothing, there were no fractures of the long bones, the chest, the pelvis, the arms. So yeah, so having seen hundreds and hundreds of car accident victims and people hit by cars, I ruled that out very quickly.
Okay. And in terms of the injuries that you did see, especially as they're attendant to the arm, based on everything that we've discussed today, is it your opinion, based on a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, that those injuries are consistent with an animal attack as opposed to a motor vehicular pedestrian incident?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oof. Boom. Boom. Short and
All right,
sweet.
Mr. Lally.
This is the first time we see Lally on cross. This should be interesting. I mean, or should it?
Good morning.
I mean,
Take you back to, you were talking about some police training that you had received when you were in the academy or while you were working with the police department here in Massachusetts. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of training or what did that training consist of?
Well, I attended and graduated from the Standard Police Academy at that time. And then I took additional courses that were offered from the Massachusetts Criminal Justice Training Council. And these were taught generally by experts in their fields. And they were on a variety of subjects that are listed in my CV, included, the hit and run accident investigation, forensic.
There, just for a minute, ma'am. Doctor, in reference to your
Dude.
training as it pertains to hit and run accidents, what did that training consist of?
Oh, well, mechanisms of how accidents occur, mechanisms of how to determine, what vehicle was involved in an accident. There, I don't, it was a long, long time ago, but yeah. So determining if people were struck by vehicles, what vehicle was involved, or if there was auto versus auto accident, what vehicles were involved.
And I don't mean to belittle this training whatsoever, but is it fair to say that that was relatively rudimentary training that you received in the academy?
Probably, I would not. Yes, okay, probably. If
You don't have any training in crash reconstruction or anything like that, correct?
that is correct.
I mean, this
And
doesn't
am I
matter.
Correct, and you indicated that you're board certified in emergency medicine. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so you're not board certified in forensic pathology or anatomical pathology or any kind of pathology?
That's correct.
And the last time that you worked as a coroner, when was that?
Last time was in 1995 when I was doing autopsies for the coroner's office. I have since, though, consulted on some cases from the LA coroner's office.
What, about 30 years ago? Is that about right?
For autopsy, yes.
Now, have you ever testified in a case in which either Mr. Jackson or Attorney Little were counsel?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And when was it that you first were contacted in reference to this case?
The first contact was May 15th.
May 15th of what year?
May 17th, excuse me, of this year, 2024. Yes.
Wow, that was just like that was.
You went through a list of things that you were provided and you reviewed. And
That's just a couple months ago.
Hospital photos, correct?
Yes.
Autopsy photos, is that correct?
Yes.
An autopsy report, is that correct?
Yes.
Grand jury testimony from the medical examiner, is that correct?
Yes.
A neuropathology report, is that correct?
Yes.
A toxicology report, is that correct?
Yes.
And then I think you also remembered some photos of some clothing items, is that correct as well?
Yes, a shirt. And
Anything else?
yeah, hospital ER record.
Hospital ER records.
Yeah, yes.
Anything else that you can think of?
No.
He's trying to
Did you
fuck
ask
with
for
her.
anything else to review?
No.
Were you told of any other material that was available for your review then that you weren't then given?
Well, I requested that that I focus in on the wounds, so I didn't ask for a lot of material in this case.
But fair to say that you were looking for anything and everything, excuse me, material to the wounds that you were asked to look at, correct?
Please say that again.
Sure. Fair to say that you would want to look at anything and everything that was related to the wounds that you were asked to look at, correct?
Yes.
And so, did you make any specific requests as to what material you were provided, or were you just handed some material or forwarded some material and you looked at what you were given?
No, I requested that I have the autopsy photographs, the ER records, the ER photographs. I requested those.
Now, you mentioned some articles that you had written that were published back in 1996 and 1997 related to dog bites. Is that right?
Yes.
Are those publicly available articles?
Yes.
And in those articles that you wrote, you were talking about law enforcement bites, correct?
Yes.
So law enforcement canine bites typically involve what you would call sort of a
What
bite
is-
and hold technique. Is that
Somebody said those are Jen's
Yes.
marks.
Yes.
So is there a difference between, through your experience and the hundreds of dog bites that you've seen, is there a difference between what you would observe from a dog bite from a law enforcement canine versus just your domesticated dog?
Well, yes. Now, the study, one of those studies was over 700 dog bite wounds, and there were two techniques used at that time: bite and hold, and later on, bark and hold, or bark and alert, or something of that nature. So there are different techniques, but yes, to specifically answer that question, which was, are they generally different from regular domestic dog bites? Yes.
Now, did you write a report in regard to your opinion that you testified to here today?
No,
Why not?
I don't think there was much time, and I didn't know if I was going to be actually testifying.
How long would it take you to write a report?
I wasn't asked to write a report, excuse me.
Were you asked specifically not to write a report?
No.
Now, at any point
Oh, I
in time,
love
did you
this.
ever look at anything related to Mr. O'Keefe's head injury?
Oh, yes.
So you reviewed reports in relation to that, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any opinions as it pertains to that?
I would rather defer to the pathologist and neuropathologist on that.
Come on, Lolly.
So who contacted you about this case?
I contacted a district attorney that I had worked with in the past. We were discussing a different case, a case that I autopsied in 1995. And I mentioned that I heard that there was a case in Massachusetts that might have been being handled by one of his colleagues, his former colleagues, and that there was an issue of whether something was a dog bite, and that I might be able to help.
Wait,
in that
she came
clarify.
forward to fucking what? Nobody reached out to her. She
What is it that you were specifically asked?
To look at the
She
wounds
volunteered.
and the reports and the materials that were sent to me and render an opinion.
And so before you had even been provided any material, before you had even looked at anything, you had already heard information related to there being a dog bite involved in this case, correct?
I had heard that there was a controversy, that there's some certain wounds could have been a dog bite versus perhaps inflicted by a motor vehicle. That's what I had heard.
So what I'm really trying to get at, Doctor, is sort of the timeline. Okay, so you hear about this, when was that?
Oh, I know.
Sometime just before May 17th.
So sometime just prior to that, you hear about some controversy in a case in Massachusetts involving a dog bite. On May 17th, you get reached out to by who specifically?
His name is John Lewin. He's an attorney in the LA District Attorney's Office.
And then who did you talk to after that?
I reached out to him. I said I might be able to clarify. And then he reached out to Mr. Jackson, I believe, and then Mr. Jackson contacted me.
And I'm not asking specifically anything you spoke about, but at some point, the discussion came specifically to dog bites, correct?
He sent me the materials. He asked me my opinion.
Sent you the materials, asked you your opinion. When did you provide that opinion?
Probably the next day. Yes, I know it was the next day.
So the very next day on May 18th, you provided an opinion?
Yes,
And was that opinion provided in a written fashion, orally? How was that provided?
orally.
So you reached out to someone shortly before May 17th, spoke to Mr. Jackson on the
A district
17th,
attorney, bro.
received all the material, and then had an opinion by May 18th.
Yes.
But you didn't write any of that down.
No.
That's all I.
Now, beyond the materials that you were provided, what else were you told about the case?
I was told that the victim was a police officer. The decedent is a police officer. I was told that the defendant had been charged, and I was told that that there was a controversy about whether or not these injuries had been caused by a motor vehicle. And I was also told, and I read in the medical record, that the decedent was found outdoors, I believe in the snow, and hypothermic.
Now, in regard to what you reviewed, you didn't review any investigative reports, is that correct?
That is correct.
You didn't review any witness statements, is that correct?
That's correct.
You didn't review any lab reports as far as from the forensic lab or anything like that?
I reviewed the
love it.
toxicology report.
Beyond that, any other?
She's stuck.
If it
her
was part of the
expertise.
autopsy report, I reviewed it.
This ain't her first
You never
rodeo.
Attended to the medical examiner's file, is that correct?
Yes,
But nothing from the lab beyond that?
I don't believe I did.
Nice. Yeah. See, now they can't say she's biased.
When you say you heard about it, how did you hear about it?
Well, I believe it was via a headline that I received in my email from the Boston Globe headline. It was some kind of there was some kind of interesting case, and I got it as an email, and I looked into it.
And when was that?
Well, that was that week in May, that just a few days before May 17th.
You subscribed to the Boston Globe online?
I did at that time. I have not renewed it.
How long had you been a subscriber to the Boston Globe?
I'm going to allow it.
Of course you are.
Probably a year or 6 months, 6 months to a year.
There was never any headlines or anything else that you saw about this prior to that week just before May 17th?
Not that I paid attention to.
I really
That's whoa.
Anything further, Mr. Jackson?
Nothing further.
All right, so since this is a voir dire, I get to ask questions, doctor?
Oh,
So
yes,
I just
okay.
have a couple of questions for you. I don't think I really heard you. So could you tell me again what your opinion is and to what degree you hold that opinion?
Yes. These injuries in the arm are, my opinion is that they are the result of animal bites or scratches.
And do you know what kind of animal?
Oh, yes, most likely dog, large dog. And I'm very reasonable, very sure to, what's the word I want? Medical certainty, very
All right,
high,
so
degree,
the
high degree of medical certainty.
reasonable degree of medical certainty.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and another question. So I received information that you also viewed
wish she
all
spoke better.
reports associated with Chloe, a dog's prior bite history. Did you review those?
No, I don't recall ever seeing anything like that.
That you also reviewed the UC Davis DNA testing results submission forms?
No, I don't recall seeing them.
Okay, any follow-up, any questions based on my questions?
Not for the Commonwealth, no.
No, Your Honor.
All right, you are all set, doctor. I don't know yet whether you'll be testifying.
Okay.
We'll try and let you know. You're going to be around for a few days?
No.
Okay, we'll let you know as soon as we can.
Okay. Okay.
Thank
All right. Thank you.
No, I'm not gonna be around for a few days. Like, how about you just fucking let me know why I gotta fucking be here if I gotta be here? What kind of question was that? You gonna be around for a few days? What? What do you think I'm doing here? Yeah, my whole problem is I just wish that she spoke better. She had a lot of brain farts. And that doesn't question that doesn't put my faith in her abilities in question at all. I'm just saying, just if that would have, everything else would have been perfect, you know, if that were the case. And Bev can't have any
I would
argument.
like to hear argument on this witness before we hear the other witnesses. So, and Ms. Giannetti, I asked you the other day whether
I
she
agree.
reached out to you or you reached out to her, and you said there was an intermediary. But my concern was whether she came out of nowhere and reached out about this case, and that seems to sort of.
It wasn't Mr. Yannetti, it was me.
Okay. All right. So the question I asked was answered pretty much by this witness, whether she saw something and decided she wanted to come forward. All right. It's the Commonwealth's
Wow.
motion. What are you asking me to do? Again, I found a violation of Rule 14. And
my
there are two
God.
concerns here. The competency of the witness's testimony, how much she can testify to, whether she should testify at all. What is it you're asking me, Mr. Lally?
Your Honor, I'm asking that the witness be excluded from testifying at the trial for the violation of Rule 14. Specifically, I believe it's Rule 14A6. This is a witness, as the court picked up on, that reached out, albeit through an intermediary, with reference to just sort of discovering or coming upon this case.
I'm so stressed out right now.
Several weeks into the trial. It is concerning given the fact that the witness represented that she had a subscription to the Globe Online, received word of this, and the first time that she had ever seen it or it had grabbed her attention was in that first week of May when, as the court is well aware, there's been widespread media coverage, particularly through the Boston Globe, for years at this point. The limitations of the testimony, it's also concerning because the disclosure from counsel indicated, again, as the court had noted, I didn't want to get into too much as far as for purposes of this voir dire, but there was additional material that was indicated in the disclosure that the witness had reviewed, including the UC Davis related to the canine DNA or the lack thereof, as well as, forgive me, dog bite history of that specific dog, which also I would note for the court includes photographs of what a dog bite from that specific dog looks like. And that specifically apparently was not provided to this witness, who's then opining on, inferably at least, that that dog was the cause of these particular injuries. However, was not shown specifically anything to do with that bite history as far as by way of reports or photographs.
Yeah,
So
but it's
that
not on the
juxtaposed or
defense
coupled
to
with
prove anything.
the immensely late disclosure. I mean, we're talking about at least the 6th week of trial by the time this witness is even mentioned, not on the defendant's witness list, not mentioned at any point in time during the pendency of the case, and then sort of pops up in the middle of May, and to the point that the limited amount of material or information that's provided by counsel as far as disclosure opinion doesn't come until today. So for all those reasons, Your Honor, the Commonwealth is requesting that her testimony in its entirety be excluded from this trial.
Shut up!
Oh my God, I don't care!
Form of sanction that the court has available to it. Just to put a fine point on it, it is a dire remedy. And I know the court has mentioned 2 or 3 times, I'm finding a violation of Rule 14. That sounds as if the court is suggesting or has inferred that we did something wrong. We didn't do anything wrong, because the court learned. I didn't reach out to her. She reached out and said, "Hey, look, I've got some experience with this."
I asked you that the other day, though, and I was told that you reached out to her through an intermediary. I wasn't told she reached out to you through an intermediary.
I don't know that there's a difference. I mean,
What I was trying to get at is this somebody who read about this case and said, you know, I want to be part of that. That's what I was trying to get at. I think it was pretty clear, Mr. Jackson.
Dude.
Go ahead, continue with your argument.
okay, I did not misrepresent anything to the court.
I didn't
take
say
offense-
that.
I take offense at the court's tone that yes, you did say that. You
Wow.
just said that. You
Get
said,
her,
"I just heard
Jackson.
the testimony,
But chill.
and it's
Chill,
not
chill,
what I
chill.
said the other day." I know a person in Los Angeles DA's office. I received a text message from that person saying there's someone who reached out to me who said I might be able to elucidate on this controversy concerning the dog bites. I then reached out to her. So when you asked me who reached out to whom, I reached out to her through an intermediary, my friend in the DA's office back in Los Angeles County. I was
So maybe it wasn't clear what I was looking for. I think it was clear. But go ahead,
Okay.
continue with your argument on this.
My point is, Rule 14 requires a sanction if, in fact, the attorney has done something wrong. In other words, it connotes the idea that we're doing something by actively hiding evidence or holding back evidence or not providing evidence that you know you're going to use at some point in an effort to take a tactical advantage. And the sanction for that is exclusion. I've never met this woman. First time I laid eyes on her was during the process after she flew out here to engage this voir dire process. She indicated I could potentially provide some information about this controversy concerning dog bites. I then sent her materials. I talked to her. I sent her materials. I found her to be incredibly credible. I found her to be experienced, and I found her to be knowledgeable in this very specific area, which is rare. There's not that many people who have published, doctors who have published in the area of dog bites specifically. So I thought it makes sense for me to reach out to her and talk to her, which is exactly
She
what
wrote the
we
book
did.
on police
And
dog
within
bites.
A couple of days, literally, you could almost count it by the hours of me receiving her information. We then had a discussion amongst ourselves. Is this somebody that we want to then present on the defense side, on the defense case? And we turned the information over to Mr. Lyle. I understand that it was well into the trial, but that's not a fault of ours. And I don't think the sanction of exclusion is necessary or appropriate to punish Ms. Reed from having an experienced witness testify in rebuttal to ultimately what Dr. Scorti-Bello and the Commonwealth is going to present in their case in chief. That's what she's going to do. She's going to present contrary evidence or an alternative theory of where those injuries came from to a person. Everybody on the Commonwealth side who can elucidate about this has said those injuries come from a tail light, including Mr. Paul yesterday. we have contrary evidence, and Ms. Reed should be entitled to present that evidence, even though
There you go.
it came late. It didn't come late by any fault of ours, and I don't believe that the Commonwealth has made out a prejudice that they can't overcome. It's late. Obviously, Mr. Lally is a skilled lawyer. There's nothing to say that he can't or hasn't been able to
See, now you're lying.
prepare for the cross-examination or for an examination in front of the jury. And I just don't think exclusion is appropriate.
All right, so the second part of this argument, and I'll start with the Commonwealth first. So in your motion to exclude, you also raise Daubert-type concerns. So, Mr. Lally, is there portions, if I permit...
You almost
her to
lost me there,
testify,
AJ. You almost lost me
Are
there.
there portions focus specifically on the part of her opinion where she says, I guess the defense expects her to be able to say she will testify that these injuries are inconsistent with having been struck by a vehicle, road rash, or scratches from broken glass or taillight material. I think you have an uphill battle on that part, Mr. Jackson. But Commonwealth, what are you saying? If she testifies, what should she be able to testify to? And don't just say nothing. I want some input.
No. If the court were
Shouldn't even
permitted
be
to
here,
the
man.
doctor to testify, Your Honor, what I would submit would be permissible testimony from a legal standpoint. I have some factual questions in regard to that, but from a legal standpoint, I think the court could permit her to testify as to the injuries that she observed, her work in history in that area, observing prior injuries related to animal attacks and whatever consistency she believes that they have with that. I do not think it would be proper to allow this witness to testify or opine anything about the inconsistency with regard to pedestrian injuries. I don't think any proper foundation has been laid for there, whether it be through experiential knowledge in relation to that, or any sort of specialized training or knowledge, or anything to do with that.
That's exactly why it should
Anything
be.
from a forensic pathology or anatomical pathology perspective, I think should also be out of bounds and excluded with regard to this witness. She's certainly a very experienced emergency room physician. So anything in relation to that, I think it's permissible. But as far as the experience when it comes to motor vehicle crashes or pedestrian crashes, of which the court is well aware, there are a litany of different types of interactions a pedestrian can have with a motor vehicle in a collision sequence, and simply saying, well, there was no injuries to the leg, so it couldn't have been a motor vehicle collision is just plain wrong, and not backed up by science or anything else that this witness can testify to from the very limited experience she has in that realm. So
yeah,
if the witness
you can
were
have that.
able or permitted by the court to testify, I would submit that her testimony should be relegated to simply what, if any, opinions, her experience, obviously, and then what, if any, opinions she draws with regard to the causation of the injuries on the right arm, as it pertains to consistency there. But I venture to guess that it's likely that those are probably also going to be, in her opinion, consistent with many other causes beyond that, if she's being reasonable.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
I'll submit, Your Honor. I have no issue with, like I said, I'll submit, I'm not submitting. I have no issue with limiting her testimony to the animal attack issue, the dog attack issue. I didn't.
Exactly.
As the court noted, I didn't spend any time. I think I may have asked one question that's consistent with the motor vehicle incident. I have no problem if the court wants to limit her testimony to the dog bite aspect. And
Exactly.
not the aspect. I wasn't planning on going into that aspect anyway. I've got another technologist who can do exactly that.
Right.
But you did go through it with her, and it's
We're
on
good.
your disclosure.
It is, but I have no problem editing.
So why is it on the disclosure, or where the Commonwealth turned over, that she viewed all reports associated with Chloe's bite history in the UC Davis DNA testing? Why is that in there?
Because we sit that in a Dropbox. We sit everything in a Dropbox, and I assumed that she reviewed it. She must not have seen it or opened it or reviewed it. That's what was sent to her. Everything that's in the disclosure is what was sent to her.
Right. If she's permitted to testify, you led her through quite a bit today. You won't be able to. I mean, she struggled with to what degree of certainty she held an opinion. She struggled to what she viewed. She didn't write a report. I have to consider all of these things too, as the gatekeeper as to whether she can actually assist the jury. So I'm not deciding this right here. Mr. Lally, if I do permit her to testify, I will give you time to absorb this testimony and to find an expert in rebuttal for this. How long might something like that take?
Wow. Wow.
Not terribly long, Your Honor. As
I mean, but good luck
as
with
far as
that.
preparation,
Good luck
I
with
can't
finding somebody who can
give an
match
exact
that.
time frame on that. As far as a rebuttal witness, I'd say a week at the most.
A week from today?
Yes.
Why don't you start looking at least? All right, well, I decide I won't know until Thursday.
Sure.
Why don't you stop wiping his ass?
All right, anything else on this
How about
witness?
that?
All right, next witness, please.
With regard to Dr. Wolf and Dr. Rentschler, this is a different scenario, and I'm presuming that the court is asking for a 1 year on their qualifications.
Well, I want to know who did what. I want to, they say we. I want to know who did what.
So is the court suggesting that I go through their entire testimony of exactly what they did, their testing, their opinions, conclusions, the bases of their opinions, conclusions?
However you want to do it, Mr. Jackson, we're here today on the Commonwealth's motion.
I realize that, but it's not the Commonwealth's motion to depose our experts. The Commonwealth's motion is they're not qualified as accident reconstructionists. I don't need to go, and I'm not inclined to give them a free bite of the apple to cross-examine these witnesses twice on the basis of their opinion. I will go through, I think, to the court's satisfaction. I don't think it's going to take long to figure out that they're extraordinarily qualified to render opinions, but I don't think it's incumbent upon me to walk through their entire testimony and give the Commonwealth a free bite of the apple like it's a deposition.
Exactly.
Whatever you want to do. I'm not telling you what to do. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, she is something else, man. I gotta tell you, she is something else. This is incredible. I mean, this is so biased. How are you even bringing into question a defendant's defense? She is entitled to her defense. She is entitled to a defense.
So we're be able to shape the court in case down here and should the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just very loudly into the microphone.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Daniel Wolf, last name spelled W-O-L-F-E.
The Wolf.
I am the director of accident reconstruction at a company known as ARCA, A-R-C-C-A.
And tell us a little bit about ARCA. If you could explain to the court what ARCA is and what its primary mission is.
So ARCA is a forensic consulting engineering company. We have a variety of disciplines that include biomechanics, failure analysis, human factors, premise liability, crashworthiness, and accident reconstruction.
You said that you were the current director of accident reconstruction, correct?
That is correct.
Is that a specialty of ARCA specifically?
Yes, sir.
And what sort of contracts does ARCA routinely engage in?
We typically work for law firms, insurance carriers.
What about other clientele? For instance, maybe it's an insurance carrier or a law firm, but what about the ultimate client, the military, Department of Defense? Have you contracted with other entities or agencies, sporting agencies?
Certainly, yes. We've done research for the military. We do player safety for the NHL. So yes, we are involved in a number of research projects as well.
And in terms of ARCA and its commissions and consultation, is it known both nationally and internationally? Is it recognized as a leader in the area of accident reconstruction?
Yes.
As the director of accident reconstruction, do you specialize in not only accident reconstruction, but human factors as well?
Yes, sir.
Can you give me a synopsis of the professional discipline of accident reconstruction? What is accident reconstruction?
Well, I think that's a very broad topic. I look at the cases that come across my desk. You know, I've been involved with pedestrian impacts, and that can be pedestrians hitting the side of vehicles, fronts, backs, getting run over by vehicles, being struck by a vehicle, then projected into another vehicle. I've dealt with your simple fender bender collisions. I've dealt with collisions that involve 60-car pileups on a highway. So again, accident reconstruction in terms of the scope for a case, it can really vary case to case depending on the facts and circumstances of that case.
And when you say dealt with, are you talking about literally going into, from an engineering and a scientific standpoint, trying to reconstruct what happened, what the causal effects were of that accident, and what the results were, the resultant damage or injuries were?
Absolutely.
What about human factors? What does that discipline entail? What is human factors?
Well, to give you an example of that, so I do a lot of nighttime visibility work where, for instance, let's say a pedestrian's coming out into the roadway at night. Maybe it's not a lit roadway and you're relying on your vehicle headlights to illuminate that pedestrian. So it's determining when would a driver recognize that individual on the roadway based upon the headlights, if there is any artificial lighting, their clothing. And then we look at how do drivers respond based upon that scenario that they're presented with. So we know that response times are different depending on the hazard that's presented to them. So if it's a pedestrian coming to the roadway, it's a vehicle stopping in front of you. So that's the application of human factors.
And that might include everything
Wow,
from
dude.
passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles, bicycle issues, motorcycle issues, things of that nature.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What education, training, and
Who else
background
is impressed with
qualifies
this
you to
guy?
perform the duties that you just described as director of accident reconstruction at ARCA?
In terms of my educational background, I received a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from James Madison University back in 2012, along with a minor in mathematics. Some of my coursework while at James Madison included courses in physics, statics, dynamics, kinematics, material science, and your typical engineering sciences. Subsequent to my undergraduate degree, I then went on to the University of Delaware to pursue my PhD in electrical and computer engineering with a concentration in electromagnetics and photonics.
Wow.
Did your research area also include physics, in addition to electromagnetics,
Yes, sir.
optics,
Yes, sir.
photonics,
Yes, sir.
and lighting?
Correct.
Are you accredited as a traffic accident reconstructionist?
Yes, sir.
By whom?
By an organization known as ACTAR, which is the Accreditation Commission for Traffic Accident Reconstructionists.
Are you trained in photogrammetry to determine vehicle crash and map scene evidence from photographs?
Yes, sir.
In other words, looking at a photograph rather than being at the scene, that is a specialty or a specific area of training that you've engaged, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you trained in Bosch crash data retrieval analysis?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise known as CDR analysis, right?
Correct.
In terms of professional associations and accreditations, are you certified by the Society of Automotive Engineers?
Yes, I'm a member of that organization.
What about being a member of Optical Society of America?
Yes, sir.
Illuminating Engineering Society?
Yes, sir.
And finally, the National Association of
Another
Professional Accident Reconstruction Specialists.
Yes, sir.
You're accredited by all of those organizations, is that right?
I'm a member of all of those. Yes, sir.
Have you authored peer-reviewed articles in the area that we've just discussed?
I've authored a number of papers in the field of physics, and one of my most recent publications was that dealing with Toyota and Lexus vehicle control history records.
In 2021, did you author or co-author
Specifically Toyota and
a
Lexus.
peer-reviewed article known as
I love it.
Collision, the International Compendium for Crash Research dealing with vehicle control history and braking issues?
Yes, sir.
Have you qualified in other courts to testify as an expert in the area of accident reconstruction?
Yes, sir.
Importantly, were you hired by the defense in this case?
No, sir.
Before this morning, when you walked into court, have you and I ever met face to face?
No, sir.
In terms of the commission that you were
Holy
asked
shit.
to take in this case, that have anything to do with the defense?
No, sir.
That have anything to do with the Commonwealth?
No, sir.
So a third-party agency hired you and commissioned you, or ARCA with the responsibility of doing an accident reconstruction in this case, correct?
Correct.
The person to my left, the female to my left sitting here, you ever seen her before?
Nope.
This is
You know
awesome.
who she is?
Yes.
How many times have you been qualified in other courts to testify as an expert in the area of accident reconstruction?
I think that's around 20 times to date.
In both federal and state court,
Just state court.
multiple states?
Yes, sir.
Your analysis, conclusions, and opinions are completely independent, whatever they are. Those analysis, conclusions, and opinions in this case are completely independent of the defense and of the Commonwealth. Have I got that right?
It's based on the evidence. That's correct.
Oh, I love this motherfucker right here, dude.
Correct.
You and your team were asked to undertake a review for purposes of accident reconstruction of the case that's now pending before the court. Is that right?
That's correct.
Who at ARCA was assigned to the team who ultimately would undertake that analysis?
So it was myself, Dr. Andrew Rentschler, and Scott Klein.
Scott Klein has a Master of Science, is that right?
I believe he's got a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. Yes.
In engineering.
Correct.
All right. And Dr. Rentschler is a PhD in what area?
Biomechanical Engineering.
Were you provided and did you review certain materials in furtherance of your consultation in this matter?
Yes, sir.
I can have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
The wolf, y'all. I mean, listen.
I'd like to use my time efficiently, Doctor. I'm going to read through a number of materials that you reviewed. Before I do that, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It might have moved. It might have moved for a second, like for a split, like fraction of a second. It might have.
Yes, sir.
What is that? What are those 2 pages?
These are the first 2 pages from the report that ARCA issued in regards to this matter.
Do you see a list of 14 items on those 2 pages?
Yes, sir.
Is that an accurate reflection of the items that you were provided by this other agency to review in terms of coming to your opinions and conclusions concerning this case?
Yes, sir.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Those items include the Norfolk SPDU homicide death report, correct?
Correct.
The Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of State Police crime scene report, correct?
Correct.
The OCME dispatch removal report, correct?
Correct.
Photographs of the incident location.
Correct.
Videos of the incident location.
Correct.
Photographs of the 2021 Lexus LX 570.
Correct.
Photographs of recovered evidence.
Correct.
Crash data retrieval report from the 2021 Lexus 570.
Correct.
Report of autopsy.
Correct.
Autopsy photographs.
Yes.
Three-dimensional laser scan data of a Lexus LX 570.
Yes.
A VINLink, VIN capital LINK report sheet for the 2021 Lexus LX 570.
Yes.
Expert autostats data sheets for a 2021 Lexus LX 570.
Yes.
And publicly available literature, including but not limited to the documents cited within the report, learned treatises, textbooks, and scientific standards, correct?
Correct.
All of those items and data were reviewed by you and your team in coming to your conclusions and opinions in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'd like to ask you one other series of questions concerning
Dude,
sort of who did
this
what.
dude's a bigger threat than Dr.
There
Russell.
indicates, that
The
there were,
wolf.
in no small part, 2 undertakings, if I can ask them in terms of pillars: the damage to the vehicle and the injuries to the body of John O'Keefe, correct?
I would say that's a fair characterization. Yes.
Okay. And I may be butchering this a bit because I'm not being very scientific, but were you more responsible for the vehicle damage or the injury damage?
The vehicle damage.
And who on your team was more responsible for the injury damage?
That would be Dr. Andrew Rentschler.
Obviously, Dr. Wolf, in coming to your opinions and conclusions concerning the damage to the vehicle, you had to consider the damage to the human being, correct, John O'Keefe?
Correct.
And as the team leader, in terms of Dr. Rentschler coming to his conclusions and opinions concerning the damage to the human being, he also had to consider the damage to the vehicle and the interplay of the two, correct?
Correct. We work together.
Is that, I was just going to say, is that how you two and Mr. Klein work together to come to the opinions and conclusions that are cited in your multi-page report?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Lally?
Thank you, Your Honor. He never even mentioned the feds, and it's awesome.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Bro, Lolly, just don't.
Now, you went through a list of about 14 things that are contained within your report that your firm or your agency was provided with that you reviewed, correct?
That is correct.
Did you specifically review all 14 of those things, or was that done as sort of a team?
Yes, I looked through all of the documents.
So you personally looked at all 14 of those items that are listed within the report?
Yes, sir.
And you indicate that it was your opinions or what you did in this case, that was you were asked to answer specific questions, correct?
Yes.
It wasn't like you were just tasked with, hey, here's some facts, go do or take a look at a crash reconstruction or create a crash reconstruction. You were asked very specific questions and you tried to answer them the best you could, correct?
I don't know that there were specific questions. I think ultimately it was an open-ended question.
But related to you testified as to two specific areas that your firm or your agency looked at, right?
Those are the disciplines that the report covers, yes.
So you testified about some other areas of expertise as far as human factors, visibility, luminescence, things like that. You didn't do any of those things here, correct?
Wasn't part of my scope in this case.
And the scope in your case, you indicate that it was based on the evidence, correct?
That is correct.
Now, to be fair, that's based on the evidence that you were provided, correct?
Correct.
So what did Mr. Klein do?
So as a part of the engagement with the entity that ultimately retained us in this, due to the confidentiality of it, only those who had access to the material to the file were allowed to review it and discuss it. And essentially, Scott Klein served as kind of another reconstruction expert to essentially bounce ideas off of and help with the review.
So for lack of a better term, sort of provided, let's say, sort of technical review of your work and Dr. Rentschler's work, is that correct?
I would say assist us with the analysis, yes.
Now, obviously, your firm and your agency issued a report in relation to what you did, correct?
That's correct.
And you've obviously had a time to review that report as far as what's contained in there factually, as well as conclusions and opinions, things of that nature.
Yes.
So is it your testimony that anything that has to do with anything factually, conclusions, opinions, or otherwise, in relation to the motor vehicle damage, those are your opinions, those are your conclusions, correct?
I would say that's fair, yes.
And again, based on the evidence that you will provide, correct?
Correct.
And so the facts or evidence or conclusions or opinions related to injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, that was Dr. or Mr. Rentschler's area, is that fair to say?
Dr. Rentschler, yes.
And again, that was based on the evidence or whatever he was providing, correct?
Correct.
Which would be the same materials that you had testified that.
Like, none of this means shit.
Correct.
I have nothing.
Anything further, Mr. Jackson? All right, so, Doctor, I just have one question for you. What specifically were you asked to do?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't get the question.
What specifically were you asked to do?
So the agency that retained us gave us a selected quantity of file material related to this case, and essentially left it as an open-ended question. Ultimately, was the evidence consistent with a pedestrian interaction between Mr. John O'Keefe and the Lexus?
Okay, you said selected quantity of information? Who selected that information?
As far as I'm concerned, it would be the Department of Justice and the FBI.
All right, and they just gave you what they wanted to give you, as far as you know?
We had no say in what material was handed over to us.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Any questions based on my questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Lally?
Just briefly.
This is wild, bro. Dude, the DOJ and the FBI, bro. Like, I never thought I'd be happy to hear
Mr. Wolf,
those
Dr. Wolf is fine.
Those acronyms.
So, Dr. Wolf, when you say that you were asked specifically whether or not the evidence, the limited scope that you were provided was consistent with a pedestrian collision, were you asked sort of in general terms as far as any type of pedestrian collision, or were you asked specifically as far as biomechanically could say the injury to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head have been caused by contact?
Dude, Proctor's under investigation. Tully's under investigation.
Again, I think it relates to, is the vehicle damage consistent with the pedestrian impact, and are the injuries consistent with the pedestrian impact?
And again, the whole panoply of injuries, is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Let me rephrase. So did anybody specifically ask you to determine whether or not the injuries to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head could have been caused by a motor vehicle?
I don't know that they asked us specifically. Again, they basically asked us to perform an accident reconstruction and biomechanical analysis and basically tell them our findings, and these are our findings.
And in the materials that you reviewed, did you see anything in there of any sort of statement, suggestion, intimation, anything at all that suggested that the injuries or the fracture to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head was caused by a motor vehicle?
In terms of direct contact?
Yes.
No, I don't believe so.
Nothing.
Anything?
Nothing.
All right, Dr. Wolf, you are all set, sir.
Thank you.
Really, Lally? You're going to use this guy to try to paint the picture that he agrees with the prosecution's theory that he wasn't struck in the head by the Lexus? Like, that's what you're going to hang on? Dude. Please, bro, let that be the case. The wolf, y'all. The wolf. Dude's gonna fucking slam dunk this fucking defense. He's gonna slam dunk this case.
I'm just gonna ask you to be mindful of the court and step up. You're gonna remain standing.
You solemnly swear to the court in the case now and here, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Gotcha.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
This guy's an FBI egg right here too.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Certainly, Dr. Andrew John Rentschler, Rentschler.
Sir, what do you do for a living?
I am a biomechanical engineer and accident reconstructionist.
In what area of the country do you live in?
I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
What is your title currently at your company?
I am a vice president and director of biomechanics for the Midwest Division.
And what is the name of that company?
It's called ARCA LLC.
And what is the main mission of ARCA? What does ARCA do?
So ARCA is a engineering consulting company, and we have several different types of engineers, biomechanical engineers such as myself, accident reconstructionists, mechanical engineers who look at crash worthiness, safety of vehicles, and other types of events. So we really do all types of work. We do litigation type work, as well as research and development for government and private entities as well.
Let me have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Can you give me a brief synopsis of the professional discipline of injury causation biomechanics? What is that?
So injury causation biomechanics is really applying traditional engineering principles to the human body. So as a biomechanical engineer, I look at the response of the body to accelerations and forces and determine how an injury occurs. You know, an injury to the human body is just an engineering problem. For instance, a mechanical engineer might look at a piece of steel and you know the size of the steel and the shape of it. And if you apply a force in a certain direction, that steel will bend and eventually break. Well, we do the same thing, but we look at the human body. How much force do you have to apply, and how does that force have to be applied in what direction or manner to get a specific injury, whether it's a skull fracture, an intervertebral disc injury, a concussion. So we look at the response of the human body to different forces and accelerations in different types of settings. And ultimately, our hope is to help mitigate or prevent injuries, whether it's in a motor vehicle accident, sports setting, industrial setting, auto pedestrian impact, try and make products and environments safer for individuals.
And that's different from what medical doctors do, correct?
It is, yes, sir.
Little boy walks into an ER with a broken arm. The medical doctor wants to reset the arm and fix the arm, correct?
That's right, yes.
What does a biomechanical engineer want to learn about the broken arm?
We want to learn how that break or that fracture occurs. And I always say that we kind of approach injuries from two different directions. You have an injury occur. After it occurs, moving forward, that's when the medical doctors get involved. They diagnose the injury, determine the best way to treat it, what's the prognosis. As a biomechanical engineer, I kind of take the reverse direction. We look at, here's the injury, here's what's diagnosed. Well, how did that injury occur?
Dude, this
how
guy's
much force do
bad
you have to apply to cause
dude.
that fracture? How did the bone have to be loaded? How did it bend to actually cause a specific type of fracture? So we really kind of approach the injury from two different directions.
Understood. And given that scientific approach, oftentimes you can come to conclusions and opinions, scientific conclusions and opinions about the causation of an injury, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, that's what biomechanical engineering is how does an injury occur? Why did it occur? And in what type of setting did the injury actually occur? What type of loading and what type of kinematics do you need to have this injury actually occur?
Can you?
This guy's awesome.
A brief synopsis on the discipline of human factors. What part does that play in what you do for a living?
Well, human factors is a large part of it as well. I mean, from a biomechanical standpoint, we look at the body, we have to know anatomy, we have to know the makeup of the body. And then human factors plays a part of it as well, as how individuals respond or what their response is to different types of environments or reactions. It really all plays into looking at a specific event. How did someone react? How did their body move? How was the body loaded? There's all different types of factors that you have to apply. The human factors, kinematics, kinetics, biomechanical, musculoskeletal interactions. It's all these different factors that are really involved in performing an analysis to ultimately look at injury causation.
Doctor, as the Director of Biomechanics and Human Factors at ARCA, what education, training, and background qualifies you to perform those duties?
Well, I got my Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering with a minor in Biomedical Engineering from Carnegie Mellon University in 1995. I then went on to get my Master's in Bioengineering and Biomechanics from the University of Pittsburgh in 2002. And then I got my PhD or my doctorate in Bioengineering and Biomechanics from the University of Pittsburgh in 2004.
Dude. Qualified?
Give us a brief work history.
Anyone?
Up to and before ARCA.
Sure. So I got my my PhD in 2004, and then since then I've worked in the consulting field for biomechanics. I've worked for a company out in Davis, California for a while called Biomechanical Engineering Accident Reconstruction. I then joined another engineering company in Jacksonville, Florida for about 3 years called Chesapeake Engineering and Design. And I have now been with ARCA for approximately 16 and a half years.
And
Dude,
in those,
this is just what he does.
In those positions and in your position currently as a director at ARCA, do you specialize in research and analysis attendant to evaluating and studying the relationships between crash injuries, crash forces, human kinematics, and human tolerances?
I do. I mean, that's really what I do on a daily basis, whether it be in litigation type cases or the research and development we do for different companies,
all day,
entities,
baby,
or even internal research that we perform at ARCA.
All day, baby.
What professional associations and accreditations do you have?
I'm a member of the American Society for Mechanical Engineers, as well as the Society for Automotive Engineering. Yeah, with respect to biomechanical engineering, there's no actual professional licensure for biomechanical engineering. So a PhD or a doctorate's the highest degree you can have in that field.
Are you also a reviewer for archives, physical medicine and rehabilitation and biomechanical engineering online?
I am, yes. Usually, if you publish articles in a journal, usually that journal comes back to you and asks you to be a reviewer. So I certainly do that type of work as well.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about your ongoing education, your professional education after your PhD. Have you continued your education in areas of biomechanics and high impact injuries from the NTSB?
I have. I've taken classes through the NTSB and SAE, the IPTM, Police Technology Management Training Center. There's several different entities I've taken biomechanical and accident reconstruction courses through.
So the alphabet soup, if you will, of biomechanical engineering and human factors.
Right, yes.
And you continue that today?
I do, yes, sir.
Any specific training in human kinematics?
Yes, I do have training in human kinematics.
Just out of curiosity, how do you define what is kinematics?
So kinematics is the motion of the human body and looking at how the body moves. And it's irrelevant or irrespective of the forces that cause that motion. So we're really looking at for instance, how one body part moves with respect to the next. We can see how the body moves as a result of a specific type of event.
You guys gonna totally debunk Plevin's videos.
What is injury mechanics and how does that relate to biomechanics?
So again, that's a subset of biomechanics, looking at the response and the strength of the different parts of tissue of the human body. On a very basic level, to get an injury or have an injury occur, you need really two factors. You need enough force to cause injury to the tissue, and you need that force applied in the right manner. So if I wanted to fracture my elbow, I certainly couldn't take a hit on my shoulder and expect my elbow to fracture. Its force is exerted in the wrong location. And likewise, if I just lean my elbow on the counter here, that's not enough force. So you need the force and you need the application of that force in the correct manner to produce what we call an injury mechanism.
And have you ever participated in any studies or research in this area? In addition to your dissertation.
Y'all thirsty asses knock that shit off, man. Let that man breathe. He can
yes.
feel your thirst.
Certainly. Well, just at ARCA, I've worked with the United States military. We worked on the design of the MRAP vehicles, the mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles over in Iraq and Afghanistan.
That's a troop carrier, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Bunch of
And the issue there is
sapiosexuals.
they go over the IED, the improvised explosive device, and it blows the vehicle up off the ground. So you're getting very large forces and accelerations through the vehicle, through the seat, into the soldier's spines. So we're seeing very traumatic and severe spinal and head injuries. So at ARCA, we work on what we call an energy absorbing seat design. So when the vehicle gets blown off the ground, that seat is designed to absorb the force and the energy to protect the soldier's spine and their head.
Did you take part in the design of that seat?
I did, yes, sir.
Has that been employed by the Department of Defense?
Yes, it has been.
And our troops
Holy shit.
That new seat design, that safety seat design in that troop carrier to this day?
As far as I know, is from what they'll tell us, yes, sir.
Understood. Are you also published in this field?
I am, yes.
Can you give us a couple of examples of current studies that you're involved in or publications that you've done in the recent past concerning bioengineering and the impact or the association that it has with human factors?
Sure. I mean, and another project I'm working on is we work with the NHL actually at ARCA. We have an ongoing, we have an ongoing relationship with the Department of Player Safety. For instance, we helped redesign part of the rink. In every arena, they had at the end of the player area, there was basically a 90-degree stanchion where the glass met. And so players were kind of getting checked down in the boards and then hitting up against the glass. And actually, somewhat ironically, it was Chara hitting Pacioretty into the glass, the Boston-Montreal game, and caused a cervical fracture and concussion.
Oh, wow.
And the NHL came to us to see if we could have a redesign of the rink to make it a little safer. So we took crash test dummies, anthropomorphic test device, which you've probably seen on TV. The automotive manufacturers use them all the time.
This is awesome.
And threw them into different configurations of glass. And now in every arena in the NHL, it is basically a curved piece of spring-loaded Lexan or plexiglass, where the players now, they hit into it, it absorbs the impact, and they glance off of the glass.
Wow.
It is, yes.
So both from
Dude.
the United States military as well as professional sporting leagues, they come to you to help save lives, lower risk.
That's right, mitigate and prevent injuries, yes, sir.
What about crash and sled testing?
Yeah, I've performed a number of crash and sled tests. When you look at, any vehicle that's driven in the United States, it has to pass federal motor vehicle safety standards. There's federal regulations that they have to pass. And, part of that involves running the vehicle into a wall at 35 miles an hour, hitting it from behind, rollover type impacts. And they have these crash test dummies in those vehicles. So we perform a lot of testing for different cases and situations where we put that dummy in the vehicle and we evaluate the safety system, whether it's the lap and shoulder belt, or if it's the airbag or the seatbelt pretensioner, determine how to make the car safer. And part of that is looking at the force that's exerted on that dummy, because there's tolerance values. We know how much force it takes to cause specific injuries. So we want to make sure in certain instances, at certain speeds or impacts, that if someone's in an accident, the force acting on, say, their head or their neck or their chest is going to be below these established tolerance values.
Speaking of how much force it takes to cause an injury to a human body, have you engaged in any testing or published in the field of auto pedestrian incidents?
Yes, I've been involved in a number of studies where we're looking at auto pedestrian type impacts. Again, a lot of times we'll utilize the crash test dummy where we'll set it up and we'll actually have it struck by different vehicles or different objects to look at the response of the body. It's very important if you're talking about an auto ped type impact. You have to know the configuration of the pedestrian, the vehicle, where they hit on the vehicle, whether it's a projection type impact, a wrap, fender vault. It really all depends on how the person's positioned and the amount of force and speed involved in that type of an impact.
And staying with that for a second, that basic subject matter, have you also engaged in studies related to slips and falls where somebody might fall from a standing position and injure themselves either to their head, shoulders, whatever, and those kinds of injury impacts?
I have, yes. And then one of the issues we look at it there is a lot of people fall, especially elderly people. So we want to look at what types of forces are being produced. You look at hip fractures, if you slip and fall backwards, head fractures. So we're trying to determine how to prevent those falls from happening and also create devices or products that can help actually prevent injuries if someone does take a fall.
Doctor, have you been retained as an expert in the area of biomechanical engineering and human factors in the past?
I have, yes, sir.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
It's like a shit ton of times. Like we're contracted by the DOJ and the FBI, bro.
Recognize it?
This is a list of my deposition and trial testimony.
Your Honor, I provided that to the court this morning.
Yes, I appreciate it. I had a chance to look at it.
Okay. That's about I don't want to go through everything. That's about a 14-page document. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Dude.
Yes.
Let me just ask it this way. How many times do you think you've been qualified as an expert in the field or testified as an expert in the field of biomechanics, biomechanical engineering, and human factors?
I've testified probably over 150 times in numerous state, federal, civil, and criminal courts throughout the country.
Your Honor, move to, I'm sorry, may I approach?
Yes.
For the purposes of voir dire, Your Honor, I would ask that this document be marked.
Sure.
Dude, a 14-page document of cases that he's testified in.
Thank you.
Dude, this dude right here, bro.
As an expert in biomechanical engineering.
I have, yes.
How recently have you testified in the criminal court?
Well, actually, I've testified twice. The end of May, I think May 31st, I testified in McKean County, Pennsylvania. For the prosecution, it was a case where the defendant was accused of beating his girlfriend to death and basically said that she fell down the steps. So my testimony involved determining how her injuries occurred and that they were entirely inconsistent with what would have happened during a stair fall.
What about another case?
And then about a week after that, around June 6th or 7th, I testified in Cambria County, Pennsylvania, again for the prosecution for another homicide case. where the defendant was accused of essentially beating his wife to death, and then said that she actually fell backwards and struck her head, caused a skull fracture on the side of the sink. So my testimony, again, pertained to looking at the injury mechanisms and determining that his story of her falling back and striking her head on the sink, it's inconsistent with the injuries and the type of force that would
Oh
have been exerted.
man, this guy is a fucking rock star.
You were hired or retained by the prosecution in the case, not by the defense, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
You gave your opinions in furtherance of the prosecution's case in chief, not the defense case in chief, correct?
That's correct, yes.
With regard to this case, you were asked to look at several items. We've already gone over those in the other testimony, so I won't belabor that. You were asked to look at several items, correct?
I was, yes.
And ultimately, based on that series of information, that universe of information that you were provided, see if you could come to an opinion and conclusion concerning the incident before the court now, correct?
That's right. See if I could determine what happened, how the injuries occurred, and the events leading up to and during.
You remember the
that process.
staircase on Netflix?
Were you able to come to
Yeah, Peterson, exactly.
I was, yes, sir.
You were not hired by the defense, by me, or anybody on the defense side in this case, correct?
That's correct. I was not.
You were not consulted with or hired by the Commonwealth either.
That's correct. I was not.
It was a completely independent agency, is that right?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Before this morning, have you and I ever met?
No, sir.
And we've never talked about, you and I have never talked about the substance of your opinion and conclusion, correct?
We have not. That's correct.
You did reduce those opinions and conclusions in conjunction with your team to a report, is that right?
I did. Yes, sir.
And your understanding is that report was made available both to the defense and the Commonwealth in this case, is that right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
I have nothing further.
Okay, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Aaron.
Dude, don't even try, dude. Just waddle your pathetic ass up there and.
Good guess.
A few questions for you, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Sad,
sir.
dude. You're
Now,
sad to look
in relation
at.
To your work in this instance, in this case, were there any limitations as far as confidentiality or anything that were put on you or any of your team?
What do you mean by confidentiality?
As far as who, what, where, and how you could discuss what you did.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly we just discussed with who we were retained by in this case. I don't believe I discussed the case with anybody else except for my cohorts who were also involved in the case.
And so my question, sir, more is geared towards, at some point you were made aware that your report, your findings were made available to both the prosecution and the defense in this case, correct?
I was made aware of that, yes, sir.
And when you were made aware of that, was there any limitations on given to you as far as who you could discuss your report, your findings, or anything with?
Yeah, basically given the direction or the request that I don't actually discuss the substance of my opinions or my report with anybody aside from who we were originally retained to work for.
Now, may I approach you on?
Yes.
Sir, I am going to show you the first couple pages of your report, specifically right down the bottom. There's a list of items 1 through 14. I asked you to just review those. FBI, open up!
Okay.
Now, is that the totality of information that you and your firm were provided with in reference to what you did in this case?
I believe it was, yes, sir.
So nothing beyond that list of 14 things did you have occasion to look at, review, or have any opportunity to see at any time?
Well, aside from we did do testing in this case, so we did do other
Aside
work.
from your independent testing, I'm asking as far as material provided by whoever employed you, that is a sum and total of what you received, correct?
I believe that would be correct, yes, sir.
And did you personally review each of those 14 items? Because, and I don't fault you or your company for this, but within the report, there's a lot of wheat. So what I'm asking is, did you personally review each of those 14 items that are listed in that report?
I did personally review every bit and every page of information that was provided in this case, yes, sir.
And to be clear, just to sort of close the loop on this, when it comes to those 14 items, were you allowed to ask for any additional items, or was it just you were limited to this is what you have, go form an opinion?
There may have been discussion about if there's other information available, but I believe ultimately that we rendered our opinions obviously just on this specific information that was provided to us.
Now, as far as your opinion in your report, when was that issued?
February 12th of 2024.
So that date on the top of the report of February 12th, 2024, that's when you sent the report to the people that contracted you to do the analysis in the first place.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Lally, that is very inappropriate. It's a small courtroom. Stop that. Stop it, Lally. Stop it. It's a small courtroom. It's not fair to everybody. You're standing right in front of Mr. Reed.
Now, am I correct? And what I'm trying to ascertain here, Doctor, is just sort of the different roles that you and the other members of your team performed in reference to this. Am I correct in that your primary role in this pertained to the sort of biomechanical engineering analysis of injuries sustained by Mr. O'Keefe?
That would be correct. Yes, sir.
And not to put too fine a point on it, but Dr. Wolf would have been more responsible for issues related to the vehicle itself.
Generally speaking, yes, that would be correct.
Obviously, there's some interaction between damage to the vehicle and injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, but as far as your primary sort of any opinions contained within this report pertaining to injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, those would be your opinions, correct?
Yes, any opinions or information with respect to the injuries would be my purview and my opinions in this matter. Yes, sir.
And concomitantly, so any opinions related to damage to the motor vehicle, those would be opinions of Dr. Wolf, is that right?
Well, to some extent. I mean, certainly I would have opinions as well based on the interaction or alleged interaction between the body and, for instance, the vehicle in this case, and what damage to both the body as well as the vehicle you would expect. So I think there's basically some overlap between those issues. I wouldn't say that it's a complete separation.
And so, and again, Doctor, what your opinions or ultimate conclusions are, whether they be yours or Dr. Wolf's or a combination of the two, it's all limited based on the information and the evidence that you received, correct?
It certainly is based on the information that we reviewed and listed in our report. Yes, sir.
Now, as far as sort of a mandate or from the agency that hired you, were you asked to answer a specific question, or were you asked to just do an analysis based on what we sent you, or how was that?
Today, Junior?
What you were doing?
There was a specific request that we were asked to perform and to evaluate in this case.
And specifically what I'm asking, sir, is there's an analysis in there of whether or not the injuries to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head could have been caused from contact with the vehicle, correct?
That is part of my analysis and opinions, yes, sir.
And were you specifically asked to address or answer that question by the agency that hired you?
That was one of the questions I was specifically asked, yes, sir.
I have nothing further.
Anything further, Mr. Jackson?
Thank you.
All right, so Doctor, I have a couple of questions for you, sir. So regarding the specific request, what were you tasked to do specifically?
So specifically overall, I was tasked from the biomechanical standpoint to determine or see if it's possible to determine how the injuries in this case occurred. And part of that was determine whether the injuries, the head injury and the arm injuries resulted from contact with the Lexus in this case.
Okay. And regarding all of your
She asked
prior
what he was
testimony,
specifically
a good deal of
told,
it seems
asked
to
to
be in
do.
depositions. Any of those in Massachusetts?
There's a couple, I believe. I've testified at trial in Massachusetts,
Okay.
Middlesex Superior Court.
Do you know where that might be? I do want to look at that.
I can find it for you, maybe a couple of months ago.
Was it in a criminal case or a civil case?
Oh, it was in civil case.
Thank you,
in,
Bostonian.
I think, let's see here. I think, yeah. So let's see. There was one November 14th, 15th, 2023, Middlesex Superior Court. That was probably the most recent one.
Hey, what number is that on there if I want to go back and look at it?
That is number 310.
Thank you.
Is there another Massachusetts case?
Oh, I'm sure there are because I
Really,
know,
bro?
I know there's some from earlier in my career.
So you're gonna judge based on whether it's in a Massachusetts case or not? What fucking difference does it make?
For you real quickly here.
A court of law is a court of law, lady. Like, what fucking difference does it make?
Connecticut.
She's looking for reasons to exclude him. She's not looking for reasons to include him. She's looking for reasons to exclude him.
Oh, there's 68. I'm gonna butcher it. Worcester.
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 Is that a civil or criminal case, doctor?
That is a civil case as well.
Okay. What year was that?
Oh, that one was 2012.
Okay. Any others that you think of or you see?
There may have been a couple others. I don't recall.
All right, I'll go through it more closely. I
Sure.
appreciate you saving me some time.
Absolutely.
All right, any questions based on my questions?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
No. All right, you are all set, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Dude, this guy was awesome, bro. I mean, like, all of these witnesses are amazing.
Mr. Lally, I will hear you on your motion. Now, we didn't get into the ultimate opinions and the basis for that opinion, but I'll hear you on your motion.
Your Honor, what essentially what Commonwealth was seeking and had been seeking was just in reference to that, as far as who did what and who was responsible for what and what were the items reviewed, and is that the totality of it? There's a date on the report. I don't know if that was a date as far as when it was filed, when it was opinion was rendered, when that was provided, what was provided to them in the course of their analysis. So I think very simply what the Commonwealth had been seeking for the most part was covered today.
Okay. All right. I have some questions as to the scope of the testimony of the witnesses. So, Mr. Jackson, you intend to have them testify consistently with the report, everything covered in the report?
Correct.
And the conclusions, all 4 conclusions in the report?
Correct.
All right, Mr. Lally, what's your take on this?
I do have an issue with number 4. I don't think they're qualified to testify to. I don't think either of them is qualified to testify to that. That's more of an area of forensic pathology.
What do you say to that, Mr. Jackson?
Number 4 is, their opinion is, there is currently insufficient evidence to determine the cause of Mr. O'Keefe's skull brain injuries or the circumstances surrounding the event. That is well within the scope of their expertise. Obviously, I don't think I have to beat this dead horse. They are highly, highly qualified.
Right.
All 4 opinions. And if the evidence in their opinion, their expert opinion, to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, which is what's evidenced here by the report, is that there is insufficient evidence to determine the cause of Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, then that is an opinion that they are well within it's well within the scope of what they can testify to.
Period.
That's their
Full
opinion,
stop.
That's their conclusion. Mr. Lally is going to have an expert, Trooper Paul, who is going to differ, or who has differed in that opinion. So be it.
And I would have kept it out. Remember, I would have kept out any medical part had there been an objection. And when you objected, I sustained the objection.
No, I think we're talking about 2 different things, apples and oranges. I didn't. That's
Right.
Not, Trooper Paul's opinion is that his injury or his injuries, or I think he said variously that it was blunt force could have come from the curb, or it was blunt force because the road is blunt. That was his opinion, and he was sticking to it. This is contrary to that. Both of these individuals have come to the conclusion and opinion that the evidence is insufficient to support that determination, and it's well within their purview to testify to that.
Exactly.
If I may, I don't think that's their actual opinion.
What?
I initially didn't think of it in these terms as it's phrased on the cover page of the report. If you look at the
Stop
actual
it.
opinion
I
and
was looking at
findings,
the last page. Are they the same on the front and the back?
I think the front is a little more definitive and concerning. The back, I think, more as to it's consistent with a whole multitude of different things. So the fact that I don't really think that's an opinion at all, to be honest with you.
What do you mean that's not an
All right,
opinion?
I'll take a look at this more
They just
closely, give you a
testified to them
decision
being their
Thursday.
opinions.
All right, I did not expect it to go this quickly. We could have had the jury here, but I'm sure you all could use the afternoon to prepare. All right, Mr. Lally, let me know
just asked them,
Thursday
is
if
it
you
your
need.
opinion?
Are you ready to go forward at least with your case on Thursday?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Let me know Thursday if you need additional time. If I let these witnesses, if I let Dr. Russell testify, how that impacts our schedule. Okay?
Absolutely. Your Honor.
All right, but I don't want that to be a concern of yours, how it impacts the schedule. That's my concern. I just need to know. All right, so anything else?
For the Commonwealth.
I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you Thursday morning.
Court will rise.
If Bev is real dirty, what she'll do is she'll exclude the two federal witnesses and keep the lady, Dr. Russell, and then exclude Dr. Wolf and Dr. I forget the last guy's name. And then be like, oh, I gave you leeway. No, dude, like every single one of these witnesses are absolutely qualified, like beyond qualified. And I'm talking, they were qualified to a point of specifics. That last guy, his specialty, what he does daily, every day, 9 to 5 shit, is decide whether or not a dude's injuries or I mean, not a dude, but a human being's injuries are consistent with being hit with a vehicle or being beaten or being thrown down the stairs, whatever have you. This dude is qualified because this is what they come to him for this. There is nobody more qualified. And Bev saying, I'm going to get you another, I'm going to give you, how much time do you need to get another witness that can match this? Acting like Trooper Paul wasn't even a thing just yesterday. Just because Trooper Paul hit the bed, why is Bev giving him that much leeway to go and get another expert? Because that was their expert. That was their expert. That was their expert that said that John O'Keefe was hit by a car. Determined this. It's not the defense's fault that they're presenting a better case than the prosecution. They should not be reprimanded for this. They should not be punished for this. And that's what she's basically doing. This is the most disgusting miscarriage of justice I've ever seen. Oh, Tom CPU has just left his stuff going. See, this is Tom CPU's channel. This is going to be very interesting. Because the world just watched Judge Bev listen to all of these very, very qualified witnesses. They don't get any more qualified than this. I cannot imagine these witnesses being more qualified.
I can't imagine any other witnesses being more qualified than these witnesses in regards to this particular case. And Judge Bev is going to decide whether or not Dr. Russell's going to be dismissed because she heard about the case and was like, I might be able to offer some insight here. That's called doing your civic duty. That's what that is. To me, that's as honest as it gets. This isn't a bias. This is, hold on. I literally wrote the book. Dr. Russell literally wrote the book on police dog bites. What is Chloe? Chloe's not a police dog per se, but she's a German Shepherd. And a German Shepherd is a very, very, probably the most common police dog, the most commonly used breed of dog for policing. So she's qualified. She literally wrote the book on those types of injuries, on the type.
How are you? Good.
They're trying to claim that the defense is claiming.
Hey, everybody.
Mr. Jack, a problem with her testimony, being able to say that she doesn't have to.
Well, that sounds good. Hey, everybody. I didn't think they would kick him out this early. I'm just here.
Tom's looking. Okay. Let's see what else is going on here. Hold on. I want to see what Twitter is saying right now. Okay, so first off, we've got Julie Grant. Julie Grant says, interesting theory. Court TV analyst, retired Lieutenant Mike Gould, this is 2 hours ago, is a canine expert. His opinion, John O'Keefe's injuries were not caused by a dog, but rather by a scavenger animal when John O'Keefe was lying outside in the lawn. That is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Oh my God, I was hoping there was video here. I'm going to read that one more time. Because Julie Grant, I am now convinced the fact that you would even put this kind of stupidity on your page. Yeah. Julie Grant said, interesting theory. Court TV analyst, retired Lieutenant Mike Gould, is a canine expert. His opinion, John O'Keefe's injuries were not caused by a dog, but rather by a scavenger animal when O'Keefe was lying outside on the lawn. Folks, I'm going to go ahead and say it once again. I have lost all faith in Court TV. Court TV continuing to employ people like this, continuing to put people on their panel that just make no fucking sense at all whatsoever, and clearly seem to have an agenda. Court TV, yes, I'm accusing you of having an agenda here. And maybe that agenda is simply to make money, stir shit up, and basically just be tragedy pimps, you know? The worst of the worst kind. Because an innocent woman is on trial here, and the fact that you're spinning these narratives in order to cause controversy is just plain irresponsible, and it's not right. And you operate under the guise and under this title called Court TV that implies that you're unbiased and you're in pursuit of justice and you're in pursuit of getting to the truth when it comes to these cases, and you're the authority on cable television networks that are supposed to represent getting to the truth and justice in these cases, and you're not. You're just trying to spin drama. And there's clearly an innocent woman on trial here, and that's fine normally. I mean, more or less, but there's literally an innocent woman on trial here. Clearly, like you have to be blind. And then you have this clown, Julie Grant. You know, you give her a job. you put people like Coffindoffer on your channel. I mean, I don't buy it. And then you got Plevin. Instead of Darwin Awards, can we give Plevin Awards, right, Maris? I mean, this is I hold Court TV absolutely accountable for this. You can't blame her for being a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, you can't blame Julie Grant for just being a moron. You can't blame Twattendoffer for being a total fucking dipshit. You can't blame Plevin for being a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, but you can blame Court TV for making them sound like experts. Employing them. Little Irish girl, thank you. Bev wants time to find a loophole. We are outraged. Agreed. Yeah, this is disgusting. I mean, dude, since when? I mean, we're asking the wrong question. See, this is the misdirection that I was talking about, that I'm always talking about. This is misdirection right here. Misdirection, because here we are and we're all dazzled by, should these witnesses be qualified or shouldn't they be qualified? No, there's no reason why they should not be qualified to, or they should not be included to testify here, because they're clearly qualified experts. They're absolutely qualified experts. They're independent. They've never even spoken to the defense prior to today in this sham. And we're sitting here and we're going to nitpick, and all the law channels are going to nitpick over what's right, what's wrong, blah, 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 whether or not they should be included and allowed to testify, blah, blah, blah. That's not the question here. The question here is the fact that for some reason, Judge Bev is even entertaining Lally's attempt to rob Karen Reed of a defense. She's entitled to a defense. The fact that he's trying to rob her of her American right to a defense, and Judge Bev is entertaining this. She's already robbed people of their First Amendment rights. That is a fact. That's not even deniable. That's not even debatable. This has happened. And right now, she's entertaining right now. This is what Judge Beverly Cannoni is doing right now, is she is entertaining the idea of robbing Karen Reed of her American right to a defense. Like, it shouldn't even fucking matter. It shouldn't even fucking matter if they want to bring fucking Mr. Rogers' puppet up there to testify, and then, okay, well, that's a bad look. It's very funny to me, because why is it a problem? If you let somebody who's not qualified on the stand, that's good for the prosecution. If somebody's not qualified to testify, then it's good for the prosecution. The jury's going to see it. It's easy to discredit. You just go, hey, this person, look at this. This person shouldn't even be testifying. But by trying to block it, it shows you're scared. It shows that you're not in pursuit of justice here. Every action that seems to be being taken by Michael Morrissey's office and Judge Beverly Cannoni's bench seems to be in the interest of railroading an innocent woman. None of it seems to, I should word it differently. None of it is in the pursuit of justice. None of it is indicative of being in pursuit of justice. There's nothing to indicate to me that Judge Beverly Cannoni's actions, as well as anything coming from Michael Morrissey's office, meaning Lally's actions, are in the interest of the pursuit of justice. There's absolutely none of it. And that's a problem. That's a real problem. Just every action is indicating this. And that is enough to tell me that this woman is being railroaded. She's absolutely being framed, for lack of a better term. This is crazy that this is even being entertained right now. The fact that Beverly Cannoni can even allow Lally to file a motion like that and then listen to it with a straight face and then look Jackson dead in the face and look Karen Reed dead in the face and say, oh, well, you fucked up by not filing this in time. I agree with the prosecution. You didn't file this in time. What about how many motions did the defense pre-trial before this trial began? And how many motions did the defense file begging the court to compel the prosecution to share discovery? And yet she did nothing. She did nothing to compel them. Absolutely fucking nothing. They filed motions for discovery, and then they filed motions to get Judge Beverly Cannone to compel her to order Lally to compel him to share the discovery. And she never did. What she did, though, was she laughed about it. I was on panel with Turtle Boy and Brian LTL. I remember when it happened. I was on panel with Turtle Boy and Brian from LTL Media, and we listened to her in a preliminary hearing laugh with Adam Lally about the fact that he doesn't comply with her orders. This happened. This isn't oh my God, just a little rumor or something here. I fucking was on panel with Turtle Boy, and me and Turtle Boy were like, look, she thinks it's funny. She thinks it's funny that the prosecution fails to provide discovery to the defense. She laughed about it. It's a joke. And right now, what she's doing is acting like she's on the moral high ground to compel the defense, or punish the defense for not sharing their witness testimony in time, or what they're going to testify to, when they're saying they did. The defense is like, we didn't even fucking do nothing here. Like, why is this even happening? Like, the fact that they're even having this voir dire today is a disgusting blemish on the justice system in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is absolutely a blemish, to say the least, because it is a hearing designed to entertain an effort to rob Karen Reed of her right to a defense. How is it anything other than that? Unreal, man. I've never seen such a fucking sham in my life. Let's see, latest here. Dude, imagine the public outrage if Judge Beverly Cannoni even disqualifies any of those witnesses. They flew out here for a sham. They flew out here for a fucking sham. Sorry, I'm just looking over some tweets here. Thirsty ass ladies. Fucking tweets out here about that shit. Yeah, I mean, this is just gross, bro. I have absolutely no faith in court TV anymore, dude. All right, no. I already paid. I already played this. Um, I'm trying to see what people.
Visibility, luminescence, things like that. You didn't do any of those things here, correct?
Wasn't part of my scope in this case.
And the scope in your case, you indicate that it was based on the evidence, correct?
That is correct.
Now, to be fair, that's based on the evidence that you were provided, correct?
Wasn't part of my scope in this case. That's it. And essentially, Scott Klein served as kind of another reconstruction expert to essentially bounce ideas off of and help with the review.
I mean, Dr. Wolf is
For lack of
dope.
a better term, sort of provided, let's say, sort of technical review of your work and Dr. Rensler's work. Is that correct?
I would say assist us with the analysis, yes.
Oh, I was hoping to get some
No, so you're
some court TV commentary. So what I'm gonna do, listen. Oh, wait. It's not even my birthday.
It was in regard to a case of self-defense. It was a murder or a homicide, I should say, and they sent me all these photos and pictures and things for me to look at because they were trying to say that their client exercised self-defense against the person who killed him, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at everything. I said, listen, I cannot say that. I will not say that. The facts don't support that. So I'm just being honest with you. If you hire me as your expert, I'm not going to support your position because the evidence doesn't.
So do you think the way it works with something like that, Jen, is they go fishing, they send it out to you and a bunch of other, qualified former FBI agents or similar, and see which one bites, see which one come back. Yeah, that's what they do, right?
See which one is.
Okay, dummy. Let me remind you exactly what's going on here. Those are people who conducted their analysis and reported their findings to the FBI and the Department of Justice because Michael Morrissey's office is under investigation for the way that they handled the murder of John O'Keefe, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, in case you forgot. And what they're doing is they have asked them to testify on their findings. This is an independent federal investigation that's taking place in the Michael Morrissey's office. See, they're leaving that out when they're discussing this. They're sitting there going, did they go fishing for FBI experts? Blah, blah, blah. No, there was a report, a 3,100-page document, okay? A TUI report of the FBI's findings and the Department of Justice findings when they were conducting an investigation into Michael Morrissey's office, and who knows how many cases. But the murder of Boston police officer John O'Keefe being one of them, and how that investigation was conducted. And so they were specifically sought out by the FBI and the Department of Justice to basically do their own research, do their own analysis of the accident supposedly that took place, or the murder that took place with Karen's SUV, to find out if it was consistent, if it happened, if it's even a thing. This isn't the defense going, hey, you're an expert, you seem qualified. No, it just so happens that the FBI and the Department of Justice employed very qualified experts to conduct their own independent investigation. And all they're here to do is to testify on their findings in the FBI Department of Justice investigation. That's all this is. It doesn't get more honest than that. And that is the issue. And that is why Lally is in there taking a shit. That's why Lally is in there trying to he's filing motions trying to get their testimonies excluded, because he is scared shitless that door of them being under FBI and federal investigation, that's going to come out. The jury's going to hear it. Once the jury finds out that Michael Morrissey's district attorney's office and everyone who works under him is under federal investigation, specifically this case was under federal investigation, the way they handled it, once they find that out, there is no way they're going to convict Karen Reed. There's already no way they're going to convict Karen Reed. But what's going to happen is it's going to be on record. And that it's going to shift the focus onto the people that were inside 34 Fairview Road, because it has to. There's no other place to look. And that is what these people are freaking out about, and everybody who they're trying to defend. All of them are shitting themselves right now. Because that right there, those witnesses, once they testify, there is a possible, once they take the oath to testify and the jury is listening, there is the risk that somehow or another, this federal investigation is going to come out into the open and the jury's going to know about it. And that is why they are freaking out. Because make no mistake, once again, those witnesses are there based on a report that they submitted to the FBI and the Department of Justice. Simple. And that's why they're freaking out. They're simply called to testify to their own findings.
Is hungry. See which one will, in my opinion, compromise. And I won't compromise. So I didn't get that job. I could care less about getting that job. I could name 3 off the top of my head that were exactly like that I cannot compromise. I've worked too hard.
You weren't qualified to get the job. Sitting here all salty.
For my reputation, I can't compromise by taking a case I don't believe in, right? So in this case,
you can't compromise by taking a case you don't believe in. No, you're supposed to be unbiased. You're supposed to not be passionate about it at all. As a law enforcement professional who's going to testify in court based on your expertise, you cannot be biased. You cannot be passionate about the case you're going to testify to, that you're going to conduct your own analysis on and then testify in open court to. You cannot ethically be passionate about that case. And this is why we all side-eye you, Jennifer Coffendoffer. This is why we all question you, because you're just admitting to us right now that you are biased.
The U.S. attorney was not going to hire any company that didn't get a preliminary analysis of what they could say. And that's in every case. So they knew going in that this company was going to back what they wanted, or they would have gone to the next one. That's 100% how it works.
Unbelievable. Well, that's the judge knows this too, and that's why she's going to do what she can to get to the bottom of this. She has to
Wow.
balance a lot of things. Obviously, she has to balance the rights of a woman who is on trial for murder. And so any evidence that could be exculpatory is she has to have access to that. She doesn't obviously doesn't want to be overturned later on appeal. But I think just even as trying to do the right thing, you
All right, shut up.
This will be the first statement of its kind in my dozen years as Norfolk District Attorney. The harassment of witnesses in the murder prosecution of Karen Reed is absolutely baseless. It should be an outrage to any decent person, and it needs to stop.
It needs to stop.
Innuendo is not evidence. False narratives are not evidence. However, what evidence does show is that John O'Keefe never entered the home at 34 Fairview Road in Canton the night he died. Location data from his phone, recovered from the lawn beneath his body when he was transported to the hospital, shows that this phone did not enter that home. 11 people have given statements that they did not see John O'Keefe enter the home at 34 Fairview that night. 0 people have said that they saw him enter the home. 0. No one. Some have, without any evidence, pointed to 18-year-old Colin Albert, a nephew of the homeowner, and accused him of attacking John O'Keefe as he entered the home.
Boy,
The court evidence shows O'Keefe never entered the home at all. Testimony from witnesses tell us that 18-year-old Colin Albert had left his uncle's home before John O'Keefe and Karen Reed had arrived outside the residence.
You're lying.
There was no fight inside that home.
Piece of shit.
John O'Keefe did not enter the home. Colin Albert,
And he's
the young man
really
being
pushing
vilified,
that.
was not present when Reed's vehicle and John O'Keefe arrived on the street. This is a false narrative.
You see, the
Colin
fact,
Albert didn't commit.
the fact that he even made this statement, he recorded this statement and released it. He recorded this statement, edited it, and released it as a public statement is absolutely the first draw when it comes to possible jury tampering. This is absolutely unethical for the district attorney of Norfolk County or any county to make, edit, to record, edit, and release a video like this, because it absolutely is the first draw in influencing a jury, in an attempt to influence a jury, a possible jury. So, and this was recorded, what was it? I mean, 9 months. This is 9 months old, people.
Commit murder. Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Brian Albert. These people were not part of a conspiracy and certainly did not commit murder or any crime that night. They have been
publicly exonerating these people as any type of suspects whatsoever, when we now know that they were hardly interviewed, that they were not interviewed in a timely fashion, that the house was not searched? After all of this testimony that's taken place, we now know how this investigation was absolutely conducted, and we now know how unethical. That paints the picture of how unethical this statement is. This action taken by the Norfolk County District Attorney, Michael Meatball Morrissey.
Forthcoming with authority, providing statements, and have not engaged in any cover-up. They are not suspects in any crime. They are merely witnesses in the case. To have them accused of murder is outrageous. To have them harassed and intimidated based on false...
See, tell me that you're protecting them without telling me that you're protecting them, because they were never investigated. Did you eliminate anybody as suspects? No, you did not. You did not take the proper steps to eliminate any of them as suspects. And here you are definitively telling the American public, telling the, let's say at the time, the public of Norfolk County, the citizens of Norfolk County, that these people are no way a danger or a threat, and you never, ever, ever bothered to investigate them. You never even bothered to investigate them just enough to even eliminate them properly. None. This is the epitome of good old boy bullshit.
False narratives and accusations is wrong. They are witnesses doing what our justice system asks of them. The autopsy of John O'Keefe was conducted by a forensic pathologist from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner.
Hey, Broken
The doctor
Baker.
found that the injuries
Welcome,
that left
guys.
John helpless in the cold were not a result of a fight. She further found that the line of abrasions on his arm was consistent with blunt trauma, not an animal attack. A grand jury of everyday citizens heard the documented evidence and testimony before making a decision.
They were lied to. They were lied to and misled, and we know that now.
The subject of that murder indictment enjoys the constitutional presumption of innocence. Why should the witnesses who have committed no crime be afforded less by members of the community? They should not be harassed for telling the government what they heard or saw. I'm asking the Canton community and everyone who feels invested in this case to hear all the actual evidence at trial before assigning guilt to people who have done nothing wrong. And certainly before taking it upon yourself to harass citizens who evidence shows have done nothing in this matter but come forward and bear witness. We try people in the court and not on the internet for a reason. The internet has no rules of evidence. The internet has no punishment for perjury. And the internet does not know all the facts. Conspiracy theories are not evidence.
Well,
the idea that...
Well, the internet kind of knows the facts now. I mean, there's still more facts to be revealed, but we know we've got the gist on the facts, Meatball.
That multiple police department, EMTs, fire personnel, the medical examiner, and prosecuting agencies are joined in or taken in by a vast conspiracy should be seen for what it is, completely contrary to the evidence and a desperate attempt to reassign guilt. Michael Proctor, the state police trooper, being accused of planting evidence outside 34 Fairview Road, was never at Fairview Road on the day of the incident. Proctor and his state police partner traveled together the entire day while other officers were processing 34 Fairview.
Wrong.
Trooper Proctor was not there.
Wrong.
And did not plant evidence at 34 Fairview Road.
Wrong.
In addition to having no opportunity to plant the evidence.
Let me help you with that. It wasn't just proved. Like, no, I agree with you. Trooper Proctor, you should have said not just Trooper Proctor, because it was also Berkowitz. and probably just Berkowitz, but Trooper Proctor and Berkowitz, and probably I'm gonna have to probably say Bukaki too. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just it's unlikely that Bukaki didn't have anything to do with planting that evidence. I believe everybody in that Sally port had something to do with planting that evidence because we're seeing it. We saw the fucking footage of it, and there's all that footage missing. Hell, even Rafferty was in that Sally port. Probably there was a female in there in a position of authority. And if I had to guess, I don't have evidence of it, but if I had to guess, that was Helena Rafferty. So, yeah, dude.
Has been suggested, Proctor would have no motive to do so.
Kevin
Trooper
Albert,
Proctor had no close personal relationship with any of the parties involved in the investigation and had no conflict. And he had no reason
except for Kevin Albert
to step out of this investigation. Every suggestion to the contrary is a lie.
I mean, we know it was more than Kevin Albert, but we know for a fact, I mean, Kevin Albert and him are so chummy that Kevin Albert got so drunk and left his badge and gun in his car, lost it, thought he lost it, and left his badge and gun wasted out drunk driving with fucking Proctor and lost his badge and gun.
This should be seen for what it is and not used as a pretext to attack and harass others. What is happening to the witnesses, some with no actual involvement in the case, is wrong. It is contrary to the American values of fairness and the constitutional value of a fair trial. It needs to stop now. I am releasing this recorded statement rather than holding a news conference because my remarks need to be so narrowly tailored to the issue at hand while the prosecution is pending in Superior Court. But the message is the same. What is happening to these innocent people, these witnesses, is wrong and it needs to stop.
Outside this courthouse in Canton, Massachusetts, supporters swarmed around Karen Reed, charged with murder in the January 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Reed has strenuously denied the allegation.
All right, that's Nightline. I'll get dinged for that shit. So I probably already am. Yeah. So Michael Morrissey talking about how fairness for Karen Reed, getting a fair trial for Karen Reed is fucking laughable. Incredible. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. Sorry. Let me check something real quick. Okay, yeah. Okay, 9 a.m. Okay. All right. So, yeah, alternate corner. I'm going to be on alternate corner tomorrow at 9 a.m., not 10. Excuse me. So I look forward to having a conversation with Dylan first thing in the morning. Yeah, man, I'm excited about that. And Kevin Keen's podcast, which I still don't know what it is. I'm ashamed to say, but He asked me to do it Thursday. I still haven't. I don't think we've settled on anything, but I'll be sure to keep you guys updated on that. But yeah. Yeah, interesting. So I'll probably go live again tomorrow afternoon or evening. Maybe I'll go live right after I'm done with Dylan's show. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I am going to take advantage of the early day and wrap this up. You guys are absolutely fantastic. I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for watching and thanks for subscribing if you're new subscribers. I hope you enjoy the channel. And thank you guys for hitting the like. I really appreciate it. It really helps out the channel when you guys hit the like, as well as all of the support. It means the whole world to me. Thank you guys a lot. Seriously, you guys are fantastic. I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. And again, like I said, if I don't go live again tonight, maybe I'll go live tomorrow. But either way, I will definitely be on Alternate Corner first thing tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. And I look forward to speaking with Dylan. We've never spoken before, so I'm excited about it. All right, guys. Thanks so much. I love you guys very much. And we will do this again very soon, my friends.